Hey, it's your boy, Skinny Penis. Joke's on you, I'm actually Beast. Hello and welcome back to the Wild Hunt. We're back with Hoshizora no Memoria, wish upon a shooting star today. I don't know what the fuck was up with that intro. All I know is that it sure was something. Anyways, I already started in the menu, so I can turn on the fucking... so I can turn on the bloody full screen again. Anyways, so some of you may be confused. Beast, didn't you say yesterday that you wouldn't be recording today due to the D&D session that's gonna happen? Why aren't you there? Why aren't you taking why are you taking part in that D&D session? Not feeling well? Stayed at home? Like maybe some reason that maybe it was cancelled? None of the above, actually. I was off by a day. It's actually tomorrow. You see, I'm a moron and thought that yesterday was Thursday, even though it was Wednesday. That's how hard I just no longer have any fucking clue about the passage of time when I don't record every day. Which is a problem. Believe it or not. Anyways, let's just get on with it. Today marks the 4th day since we moved to Hibarigasaki. Normally, I would have already been done with furnishing my room and all that, but thanks to the interference of she who shall not be named, bearer of the demonic hands, I still need to sort and shelve my miscellaneous stuff. I proceed to definitely fill my bookshelf, the assembled TV stand, and so on, with the stuff still in the jumbled cardboard boxes. Now, what should I do about the broken glass door off the sideboard? That'd be a good idea to check some stores at shopping district once I'm done here. If I'm lucky, I might still find the same sideboard model. Could have to sell me just the glass door. If that doesn't work out, I suppose I'll have to replace the whole sideboard. The doorknob rattles loudly. He learned! Success! It was a pretty smart idea to use a rope to Just use a key and lock the door. It was a pretty smart idea to use a rope to fix the inside doorknob in place so the door wouldn't open. I guess it is safe to assume that I won't be disturbed by Kinemi now like I was yesterday. The only downside of this being that I can't leave my room. I'm royally screwed in the event that I end up having to go to the bathroom, but without Jinami's disruptions, I doubt I'll even take more than an hour to finish the rest anyway. I lightheartedly get back to the work at hand. Okay, next I'll line up my books on the bookshelf and... Bam, bam, bam. Yay, 6 paperbacks, volumes on the top most shelf. Yay, 5 ones on the standalone tiles on the middle. And magazines on the lowest. Reference books go on my desk shelf. Bam, bam, bam. Fuck, all this noise is slowing me down. Are you nuts? What kind of situation? A man with a chainsaw!
争で仁王立ちしてる。
Needless to say, I give her a very thorough punishment. Well, for now, I've called someone to come fix the door.
ちなみは悪くないよ。お兄ちゃんが居留守を使うのが悪いんだよ。
I'd really like to say I'll just take it out of your allowance, but...
それは難しいよ、お兄ちゃん。ちなみはあぶく銭を持たないその日暮らしの風来坊だから、小豚の貯金箱はいついかなる時もからっ風が吹いて涼しそうにしてるからね。
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. So I just took it out of the New Year's money you'll be getting at the end of the year instead.
ごめんなさい、もう二度としません。それだけは許してください、お兄様。
She clings to my feet. Better not, you hear me? I have to use Mom's savings to pay for it. Thinking about it, Aunt Shino still managed to stay asleep despite this insane commotion. She must be one hell of a deep sleeper. Thanks to that, looks like we can get the door repaired without her ever having to know about it. Tell me once the people get here to work on the door, okay? I'll be working on the rest of my packing in the meantime. Shinami nods dejectedly. She is a real handful of a sister with a grave lacking of common sense, as she so splendidly demonstrated just now. But her personality does have some merit to me. After all, Chinami's unvarnished 24/7 cheerfulness is the reason I don't feel depressed, despite the fact that we've lost both our parents. Sheesh, I'm finally done. The unpacking and furnishing of my room has finally welcomed its happy end. It is a very touching moment, to say the least. Oh, by the way, I just feel the need to show this off. Got myself a snack when we were out grocery shopping earlier. You can't fucking read what it says. It is milk chocolate. Strawberry cheesecake. And it is in fact actually quite fucking tasty. Like, really nice. A lot of these, like, strawberry chocolates I find just make the strawberries a bit too overpowering. But this one handles it well. But also, like, yes, it's still a bit too sweet for my tastes. I can't eat a lot of it at once. But I can easily, like, slowly but surely chip away at it, basically. May actually taste better if I put it in the fucking fridge for a bit. Like, fun fact, if you put chocolate in the fridge, it actually makes it less sweet. Which is exactly what I want. I don't like that overpowering sweetness. Honestly, God, like these, like the typical Japanese sweets may actually be more to my taste, since those apparently aren't as sweet usually. It was a very touching moment, to say the very least. Why did this have to take 4 whole days? The reason goes without saying, but I can't stop myself from saying that out loud.
おめでとう、お兄ちゃん。感謝してね、お兄ちゃん。ちなみが廊下でおとなしく応援してたおかげだね。
The sad thing about that being that it wasn't sarcasm, but the naked truth. The door has also been repaired, although the repair costs took quite a chunk of money out of us. So with that, my afternoon was completely free.
ねえねえ、お兄ちゃん。
Nope.
まだ何も言ってないよ。
Alright, I get you. I want to make lunch because it's almost noon, huh? You want to make lunch because it's almost noon, huh? Nope.
そうじゃないよ。それもあるけど。ちなみ、ちょっとお買い物してきたいの。
And what do you want to
ちな
buy?
み愛用サイドボードを買うんだよ。
Ah, yeah, yours broke the other day, didn't it? It's up with the same face as my sideboard. Glass door's shattered to pieces. So, you want to go buy one
そうだ
now?
よ。全は急ぎだよ。
But isn't your piggy bank shivering from the cold wind blowing through its hollow crannies?
そこでお兄ちゃんの登場だよ。
Shinami pulls on my arm.
お兄ちゃんがちなみの小豚にお慈悲の餌を。
Nope.
まだ言い終わってないよ。
Well, I already know you want me to lend you the money.
そんな耳っちいこと言わないよ。ちなみはお兄ちゃんのお金で ちなみああいうサイドボードを買いたいの。
That makes it even
ね
worse.
えねえ、いいでしょ、買ってよ買って。ちなみのためにサイドボード買って買って、パパ買って。
Oh, by the way, having played some more Elden Ring today, I am now absolutely convinced of it. Fuck bleed. Like, why is the bleed build-up so fucking quick in this game? Like, I'm relatively tanky, okay? Like, I'm somewhat okay tanky. Especially with, like, 100% damage absorption's shield, you know? But I still die, even when someone with a fucking, like, dagger attacks me. Like, yes, sure, it's like that special dagger from the fucking invader I mentioned before. But even, like, these random-ass fucking, like, mini-me ninja things that cause bleed just fucking shred me to pieces. Like, why? I am not your goddamn daddy, girl. Sorry to disappoint you, but I'm hurting on cash too. Tack that on to the fact that I have a sideboard to buy myself
ちなみ
too.
のサイドボードとお兄ちゃんのサイドボード、どっちが大切だと思ってるの？
Is that even a question? Mine, duh.
眉一つ動かさなかったよ、この人。
Do you really even need a new one though? I mean, the glass doors are just broken, that's all. It's still plenty usable.
お兄ちゃんだってそうじゃない。
What are you saying? Without the glass, everything I put on display there will get covered in dust, so it defeats the purpose, don't you think?
ちなみのだってそうなっちゃうんだよ。
You gotta be tough and put up with the little stuff like that.
それおかしいよ。お兄ちゃんの発言にはとても大きな矛盾が見られるよ。
It's a fact of it being an optional thing. You don't have to have it there. It's better like that, but it certainly isn't something to go out of your way to do unless it's really fucking urgent, which it isn't. It's very much a thing of you just want it. So if you got the money, you can do it, which you don't. How so?
お兄ちゃんとちなみのサイドボードは全く同じ状態なのに、どうしてお兄ちゃんは自分のサイドボードだけ買おうとするの？
It's my money. Long last come the tears. Okay, just give me a second, I'll check how much money I have. This man is too fucking soft. Looks like we just barely managed. As long as you don't go over 120 yen, we should be good.
缶ジュースより安いサイドボードって何？
Well, within that range, I suppose you should be able to get one that can fit exactly one soft drink can.
それもハヤタノとして機能してないよ。
Oh, aren't you glad your treasured soft drink can won't have to get all dusty
そ
now?
もそも缶ジュースなんか飾らないから。
You say that, but yeah, knowing you, it's a very real possibility.
お兄ちゃんはちなみの何を知ってるの？
I know that you kept wetting the bed up until you started elementary school. She breaks into tears yet again. Look, what I'm trying to say is that if I don't have the money, then I don't have the money. I'll just have to live with it. Shinami has already stopped crying and is now looking at the colored paper I situated on the sideboard's doorless display. The speed at which her mood can swing isn't to be underestimated.
これって
Don't touch that. I flopped the colored paper
好
down.
きでしたとか書かれてたような。
Nothing like that. You must have read something wrong. Anyways, didn't you say you wanted to go shopping? I purposely changed the topic. I can lend you money. Just promise me you'll pay me back eventually, okay?
本当？
Yeah, though it technically won't be me lending the money, but Mom. Shortly before we moved, I withdrew a decent sum of money. I paid the movers and door repairs money using that. If we buy a sideboard for each of us, we may just end up with only our savings and the bank account remaining. If things get to that point, I suppose we won't be able to use our mom's savings for anything else but our school fees and the bare necessities of living expenses anymore. We need to find a part-time job so we don't end up making Aunt Shino shoulder all our food expenses. I'll treat you to lunch too while we're out.
ありがとう。
can't quite tell whether she's directing that at me or to our mom.
ちなみ、バイト探してみようかな。
She latches herself onto my arm. You don't have to do that. Just me working should easily be enough to cover our food expenses. I mean, you've got school to focus on, get a job, and you won't have any time to do your homework.
もう決めたから。
Pulling me in tow, Chinami heads downstairs.
ちなみね、商店街のある場所まだ覚えてるよ。
Yeah, I kind of vaguely remember it too. Our feet head in the direction of the station without the need for either of us to say where to
こ
go.
の街出てからずいぶん経っちゃったけど、意外と忘れないものなんだね。
Well, for what it's worth, we lived here just about as long as we did in the city.
でも、ちなみは学校入ったらすぐ引っ越したってイメージだったよ。
Chinami is only 1 year younger than me, so we aren't separated all that much by age, but it is true that she was younger than me when we moved away. Were you against moving?
引っ越しが好きな人なんかいるのかな。
True
た
enough.
だ、一度目の引っ越しよりも二度目の引っ越しの方が嫌じゃなかったかな。
Was the same for me, compared to moving to a city where we'd never set foot into before. This time, there was an innate feeling of reassurance. I suppose there was also that feeling of nostalgic yearning for your birth town which played a part. Despite the fact that having to part with my friends from the city made me feel sad and lonely, there was also definitive anticipation that I'd meet people to fill that void here. Primary individual in that regard is the lookout girl, but it isn't limited to just her. I'd also have been able to see some of my old classmates from elementary here at Hibarigasaki again. Unlike the lookout girl, whose appearance I vividly remember, I could barely remember any of their faces before now, and they might as well have completely forgotten me. Besides, nostalgic reunions aren't just limited to people. It could also apply to the townscape I'm looking at right now as I advance down the street together with Chinami.
それじゃあ、懐かしのひばりが崎探検に出発！
Chinami's shout out as a signal, our pace increases. After about 5 minutes of walking, we happen across Hibarigasaki Station. As memory serves me, the shopping district would primarily stretch out around the nearest station. As long as we are at Onshino's house, we can easily just walk. So as long as we are at Onshino's house, we can easily just walk to do all our shopping.
この駅、全然変わってないね。
Ever so gradually, my memories begin to resurface. The dull, plain banner with the words "Welcome to Hibarigasaki" written on it also seems to be in fine condition still.
駅から団体さんが出てきたよ。
Tourists, I reckon. It is Saturday after all.
団体客さん、たくさんお土産買ってひばりが崎にお金を落として地元民のちなみたちが払う税金安くしてね。
You have absolutely no shame. Paying no further attention to the group of elderly people getting into a tourist bus, we head towards where all the shops are lined up.
この辺りもパッと見昔と同じ感じがするね。
Grocery stores, sundries, souvenir shops, and the like, all privately owned, garnished the street one after another. This very same shopping district I used to know. No, just a shopping district that I used to. Sorry, bad joke. In place of multi-story buildings and apartment stores are instead age-worn boarding houses. Stores with their shutters still closed here and there. Business doesn't seem to be all too hot here, but rather than deserted, you got a laid-back impression from it. Makes me happy that this sort of atmosphere hasn't changed one bit despite the years that have passed. Seems like a really nice and chill description of it, even if it looks far more dense than where I live. Like, I live in a part where people just know you. Anyways, reminds me, I forgot to fucking check something. Fuck, too late now, I'll have to check later.
ほんと古めかしいっていうかノスタルジックって言葉がぴったりの街だよね。
town itself might have some sort of history behind it, but it isn't something I know much about. I'm fairly positive that they teach about the town history in social studies class during elementary here, but I moved away before we reached that topic. Hence, my knowledge concerning Hibarigasaki is limited to Hibarigasaki as a sightseeing location. In the past, the town prospered as a trade port, and now that it's become a commercial port town, Hibarigasaki is surrounded by many historical structures, like it's in the inland waterway. Other than the waterway, there is also a public park, a hot springs area, a shrine, a ropeway, and a beach where the open sea unfolds before you. From hiking to playing at the beach, viewing the wide variety of multicolored autumn leaves, and skiing, there's no shortage of recreation for every season. This town is quite literally an exemplary tourist site. The population of Hibarigasaki and the surrounding area, that also belongs to the city, is approximately 400,000. Purely from a numerical standpoint, we can hardly call it a small town, but once you actually walk through the town, you get a much more historic feel rather than an urban one. What's more, I've heard the population has been on a steady decline recently. While it may be a great sightseeing site with things to enjoy all year round, on the other hand, it is also quite bland and unassuming, so that might be one factor contributing to the decline. Furthermore, once winter comes around, snow piles up, causing all sorts of complications transportation-wise. So another detrimental factor is that living here certainly comes with its fair share of natural hardships. If I remember correctly, but Kazaki also has a history museum, archives, or something like that, so I suppose I'll visit that place when I'm in the mood to learn about the town and more in depth. No, he just fucking... not that one. No, not that one, but that one. I'm actually starting to get pissed off at how long the music is being. I'm a rather industrious person. First and foremost, I love this town.
お兄ちゃん、あれ見てあれ
Nope.
なんでいつもちなみの言葉を最後まで聞こうとしないんだよ
It's probably just the second coming of your much-loved sideboard you saw in a store window, am I right? And my nope also meant refusal to check the price.
そうじゃないよあそこにちなみの知らないお店があるの多分ちなみたちが引っ越した後にオープンしたお店じゃないかな
I direct my eyes towards the shop Chinami was pointing at. Just like she said, it is indeed a shop I can't find searching through my memories. It's a cafe. Newly opened, but in the event it opened right after we moved away from this town, newly opened as a term wouldn't quite be fitting. It may very well be an integral part of Hibarigasaki's shopping district already, by now being a perfectly familiar sight for the residents here. Thinking about that kind of change makes a mild wave of wistfulness wash over me.
なんかこじゃれた感じで雰囲気良さそうだよね
She's right. The cafe has a rather chic exterior. From what you can see of the interior design through the window, it has a serene sort of retro-modern feel to it, which in turn compels me to check it out for myself. Want to eat there before we shop for the sideboards?
Nice idea!
Thus the two of us enter the cafe together. I gaze around the cafe interior while the old-fashioned doorbell behind us rings behind us, signaling the staff that customers are here. Okay, the fucking girl from the astronomy circle is gonna be working here. The exterior doesn't deceive our expectations. Just like we imagined, our comfortable, nice atmosphere surrounds us. Hung up paintings and vases. The furniture, in addition to the music, are all playing. They are playing all together soothes my body, which is exhausted beyond belief from all the furnishing and unpacking. By other customers besides us at the table here and there, so I suppose you could say this cafe is doing decent business.
お兄ちゃん、あそこ座ろ
Following Chinami, we go over to a window table.
このお店、思ったより新しいって感じじゃないね
I guess it's partly because of the color tone, but yeah, I guess it opened up not too long after we moved away.
だとしたら7年くらい経ってるし、オープンセールやってるわけじゃないのかな
Well, why don't we look over at the menu first? Pass Chinami a menu and open one myself. Glancing over the menu gives me absolutely no information about what the dishes themselves were.
ねえ、お兄ちゃん、 ここって本当に喫茶店？
Pretty sure it is. The menu is full of unfamiliar words.
いらっしゃいませ。ご注文はお決まりでしょうか？
Ah, yeah, about that. I'm gonna ask her about the menu, but my mouth suspends motion mid-sentence.
どうかされましたか？
I turned off the zoom, so it's easier for me. And you know, I don't fucking suddenly zoom into the next dimension. The waitress is wearing a frilly apron dress plus a hairband of matching color.
メイドさんだ。ちなみ初めて見たよ。
What is this place? With a chic exterior and retro-modern interior, just one big farce hiding the fact that this place is actually a maid cafe. First time having entered one. Originally, I thought maid cafes were these maniac establishments targeting bigger cities, but it seems now they've actually spread it to a northern tourist location like Yubarigasaki too. The waitress maintains a bright, business-like smile, completely unfazed by Chinami, and intently stare at her in amazement. More than likely, this isn't the first time she's seen a customer utterly flabbergasted by her uniform attire. She may have been working as a waitress for a while now. Although, on second thought, her appearance suggests that she's around my age.
あれ、お客様。
Ah! Both mine and the maid's jaws drop in unison.
以前、展望台の方に行かれてましたよね。今日も観光ですか？
Giving off a friendly, sociable demeanor appropriate for a service job, she starts off the conversation with a smile on her face.
なに？お兄ちゃんこの人と知り合いなの？引っ越してまだ間もないのにもうつばつけたの？お兄ちゃんがそんな節操なしだったなんて、ちなみ超ショックだな。
Because I'm not, just keep your mouth closed for now. I grab a tube of salad mayonnaise lying on the table and shove it into Chinami's mouth. Her eyes then droop in an expression of pure bliss as she starts to greedily suck on it. Dare I need to say it again, but Chinami has an extreme love for mayonnaise.
今日も彼女さんとご一緒にひばりが崎の観光ですか？
Even with Chinami's crankiness before her eyes, she doesn't cease smiling. She's a professional, bona fide maid. I remember spotting her in front of Hibari High a few times, and it seems she remembers me too. That is when she goes to school, and my early observation about her being my age is probably spot on. So the next Monday, I'll also be going to Hibari High as a second-year
この
student.
時期だと海水浴にはまだ早いですけど、運河でのボート乗りは風情があって最高ですよ。特にアベックには大人気で。
There's something I need to correct you on. She's actually my little sister. In addition, we're not tourists. We moved here just the other day, actually.
うん、そうだったんですか。
My first day at Hibari High is next week, so maybe I'll be seeing you there. Finished formalities.
ひばり校の何年生ですか？
Second.
じゃあ私と同じだ。
Presumably because she's learned that we'll be seeing each other at school, she immediately drops the waitress act and starts speaking more casually around me.
私、水星あすほ。ひばり校の2年。君は？
Is her... Is her name like a fucking abbreviated form of everyone's star? Because I know Hoshi is star by now. But isn't Mina like everyone? So if you just like put a no between the Mina and Hoshi, it would be everyone's star, wouldn't it? That is a bit on the fucking nose! Kogasaka yo.
小笠坂よ。
She whispers my name to herself.
小笠坂くん、どのあたりに引っ越してきたの？
You're familiar with Yumemi Hill, yeah? Since she's talking to me in a more casual fashion, I naturally ease up too. Around the residential area at the foot of the hill where we moved in at.
ああ、あそこなんだ。いいな。ひばり校のすぐ近くじゃない。朝遅くまで寝てられそう。
Well, there's still that hill to climb every morning, so that prospect alone still kind of kills my spirits.
だよね。なんであの坂が通学路なんだろう。っていうか、誰があんな場所に学校を建てようなんて言い出したんだろう。
I guess it could always be worse, though. You know, like the elementary school.
そうだね。小学校は山の方じゃなくて、駅向こうの海の近くにあったし。
Yep, Although it was a bit of a pain to have to get across the railroad crossing on the way there. Wait, is the elementary school she's talking about the same one I was still attending?
君ってこの前引っ越してきたばかりじゃないの？
Yeah, about that.
お兄ちゃんがメイドさんと親睦深めてる。お昼ご飯代わりにメイドさん食べようとしてる。いくら初恋の彼女に振られたからって手当たり次第になんて。
Bugle girl, shut your lips! I shove a second mayonnaise tube into her mouth. She finishes sucking the whole bottle clean within a mere 2 seconds. This knucklehead right here is my little sister. Her name is Kokosaka. I mean, she'll be attending Hibari High too as a first year.
この子マヨネーズソース早くも3本目吸ってるんだけど。もっ
Jinami, that's bad manners. Give it a rest now, okay?
と早く止めてよ。もう少しでちなみのお昼がマヨネーズだけになるところだったじゃない。
It is entirely beyond me how she can criticize me considering her expression of pure bliss while sucking on those things.
あ、そう。話し込むのはいいけど、お客さんのオーダー取るのを忘れないようにね。
はーい。お客様、ご注文はお決まりですか？
Having been warned by what seems to be the cafe owner, she reverts back to her waitress mode, which makes our talk concerning the grade school and end before I can get clarification of things.
このメニューに書いてあるアストライヤーって何ですか？それはね、天秤座の天秤の持ち主である正義の女神アストライヤーのことなの。アストライヤーは羽ペンと人間の心臓を天秤にかけてその人間の善悪を判決したと言われてるんだ。アストライヤーのアストロはもともと星を意味していて、ライヤーは女性語尾で乙女を意味するから、アストライヤーは星乙女とも呼ばれてるんだよ。
She goes to explaining all of that to us rather enthusiastically, but when it comes to the most crucial part, namely what that food dish actually is, we haven't really gotten anywhere.
じゃあこの本日のおすすめって書いてあるヘルメスの盾事って？ヘルメスっていうのは泥棒の神様なの。ヘルメスは生まれてすぐに太陽神アポロンの牛を盗んだんだけど、その時見つけたウミガメも一緒に食べちゃって、その甲羅に穴を開けて盾事を作ったんだ。じゃあこのヘルメスの盾事ってすっぽん料理？ハニートースト。
Wow, zero connection whatsoever! Though honestly, I'd be a bit perturbed if a soft-shelled turtle dish was being served at a maid cafe.
それでね、ヘルメスは盗んだ牛を取り返しに来たアポロンに見つかっちゃって、慌てたヘルメスは謝罪の意味で甲羅で作った盾事をアポロンに差し出したの。その盾事はアポロンの手を経て銀融詩人オルペウスに渡るんだけど、オルペウスが奏でる盾事の音色は人間だけじゃなくて動物や草木さえも虜にするんだ。そしてある時、オルペウスは妻である天女エウルディケイを助けるために冥界に降りて、この盾事は大活躍するんだけど、結局オルペウスは妻を助けられずに。
She seems like a folklore and myth nerd, and I appreciate that.
アスホ、お客さんが困ってるよ。
じゃあヘルメスの盾事はすっぽん料理じゃないから、妻を助けるためにオルペウスの盾事がハニートーストになって。
Jeremy's eyes are spinning in circles.
ごめんなさい、私ってばつい。ご注文はヘルメスの盾事2つでよろしいですか？
Well, sure, why not? I don't mind that she basically arbitrarily decides our order. Right now, there's something else in my mind. First, I didn't notice it at the Lyre of Hermes, but when she talked about Orpheus and his lyre, it hit me. Was that just now about Lyra the constellation by any chance? In response to my question, the maid's face instantly lights up.
だって今日は七夕だからね。
With light steps, the maid returns to the manager's side. The lyre of Orpheus is the very lyre the Lyre constellation shows, which is precisely why the Lyre of Orpheus, the Lyre of Hermes, is today's special. One of the stars in Lyra is Vega, which is Orihime in the Tanabata legend.
じゃあヘルメスの盾事 トはすっぽん料理じゃないから、オルペウスのタテごとがハニートーストになって、七夕だからメニューを勝手に決められて。
Jinami's eyes are still spinning.
お待たせしました。こちら当店自慢のヘルメスのタテごとになります。
The honey toasts on the table are also decorated with a bamboo tree leaf on top of the ice cream. Where does ice cream come into honey
美味
toast?
しかったね、お兄ちゃん。
What is honey toast anyways? Is that just like fucking, yes, waffle toast, fucking honey? I assume it's waffle toast because just regular toast with honey on it would be a bit of a mess. At least put butter on there as well. That's actually quite tasty. Just toast, put butter on it, put honey on it. Tasty. Who keeps screaming in the background? I keep thinking someone's fucking calling for me, but it's in game. I'm gonna beat you, whoever you are! Yeah, might become a regular from now on. I might become a regular from now on. Though I feel kind of weird entering it by myself since it was a maid cafe-esque. It also appeared that the dishes on the menu derived their names from the specific myths about constellations. I noticed when we entered the cafe, but it was also named the Milky Way. The puzzle all fit together now. Food itself was also pretty good, so I suppose once I've made friends in my new class, I could stop by this place every now and again.
お父さん、私ちょっと出かけてくるね。学校に大事な用があるんだ。お手伝いサボる埋め合わせは今度するから、あとよろしくね。
That maid's voice didn't have the kind of outrageous volume that ruptured your ears like Chinami's, but it still carried quite well regardless. I suppose by school she made Hibari high. Today is a Saturday, so there shouldn't be any classes going on, but maybe she has a club activities or remedial classes.
お兄ちゃん見て見て、このお店バイト募集してるよ。
Nope.
お兄ちゃんの返答は否定が多すぎるよ。
You were gonna say you want to apply, right? I already said you don't have to.
でもこのままだとちなみの小豚貯金箱がかわいそうなんだもん。から風にさらされて風邪でもひいたら困るんだもん。
Idiots have immunity to cold, so no worries there. Huh? We all know that it's taking after its owner in that regard.
バカっていう方がバカなんだよ。
There is a recruitment poster plastered on the cafe's window. According to it, they are in urgent need of staff, but unfortunately there's just no way I could work at a maid cafe as a guy. And since the prospects of having damage claims due to broken plates if I let Satan's little minion work there is very frightening, it's a no for her as well.
時給900円からってあるよ。夕方のバイトとしては高級だよ。しかも都会と違って客足もそんなになさそうだし、サボっててもバレなさそうだよ。
Forget about that, so we can get a move on. We came to get the sideboards, remember? As I set off, Jinami follows behind with a sullen expression. Sorry, but there's just no way I can have you do a part-time job. Our mom would probably be worrying her head off in heaven, too, if you did.
お兄ちゃん、ありがとう。
You're welcome. By the time we leave the shopping district, our surroundings are already tinged a deep orange. As I figured, something as convenient as being able to buy just the glass doors themselves wasn't possible, so we had to buy 2 whole new sideboards. To make matters worse, the price was a lot higher than I'd expected in the city we last lived in. Because it was a privately owned store. Well, anyhow, my wallet was now completely empty as a result. I'll have to swing by a bank on Monday to withdraw some more money. Actually, I better not. I already told myself I'd avoid using the savings for anything other than school fees as much as possible. I really need to find myself a part-time job soon.
さっき買ったちなみ愛用サイドボード2号、お店の人がお家まで運んでくれるって言ってたね。
Yeah, before the end of the day at that. The price may have been steep, but this kind of tacked-on delivery service was something you only got at privately owned stores.
じゃあすぐに帰らなきゃだね。夕飯前にはサイドボード組み立てちゃおっと。
You can handle that by yourself.
できるよ。ちなみはもう子供じゃないからね。
Urged on by Chinami, we pass the furnace station and proceed to make for the residential area. You think as the station as your center, the residential area is in a southward direction, and if you go north instead, you reach the ocean after crossing over a railroad. The elementary school myself and the lookout girl used to attend was located near there. If you follow along the railroad to the east, you'll eventually reach the inland waterway. Past the waterway, you then steep into the neighboring town. That's the end line for Ibarigasaki. Hence, geographically speaking, the whole area around here was actually on the edge of Ibarigasaki. If you take Ibarigasaki as a historic city, for example, the neighboring city is, on the other hand, very visibly a full-fledged urban area. A metropolis on par with the place I'd moved to. Then again, this region being a lot higher up north as it is compared to my previous location, the cities are much more spread out. I don't know whether it is because of that, but there is neither a hectic atmosphere nor much noise in general. Just as if I'd gone back in time, Ibarigasaki as a town goes about business as usual in a laid-back fashion. I'm going for a little stroll by myself now. As I inform her of that, the moment we reach our house's entrance, Shinami shoots me a puzzled look.
どうしてお店の人がサイドボード運んでくれるのに
Sorry, but could you take care of those for me? And if Aunt Chino's awake, make sure to tell her about it too.
これからどこ行くの
Why do you care?
懲りずに展望台なんて言わないよね。図星っぽいな。
Who said I am?
お兄ちゃんのバカバカバカバカバカバカバカバカバカ
Light hits rain down
過
on me.
去は美しいから過去なんだよ。夢から覚めるには現実を見つめることだよ。まずは目の前の女の子を見つめることから始めるべきだとちなみは思うの。
But there's only you right now.
それでいいんだよ。ちなみで正解なんだよ、お兄ちゃん。
Okay, get those sideboards, okay, I'm off.
お兄ちゃんのバカ
You take a dummy to no one. I feel like the frequency of dumb, dummy, and other variants flying my way has gone up recently. Not that I want to talk, though, of course. I call her names and stuff all the time. But well, I perfectly understand it myself. Regardless of how much Mare resembles the Lookout Girl, the way I am desperately keen to her can only be called idiotic. There are other more realistic approaches out there, like using her name to dig around if I really want to fight the Lookout Girl. Not to mention I am a massive dummy for prioritizing seeing Mare over my search efforts. It makes more than enough sense for the Lookout Girl to simply be upset with me and hence be avoiding me as a result. Umemi Hill is a gentle slope, but in turn it stretches out for a fair distance. Should have originally been a sightseeing spot, albeit a rarely visited one, alongside the lookout, but now the lookout is closed off for reasons unknown to me. So I imagine that at the point in time, essentially no one other than students climb this hill, which in turn means that this hill makes Ibari High students build up some good stamina.
だから何度も同じ言葉を言わせないで。生徒の屋上の使用は禁止されてるって言ってるじゃない。
Right as I'm passing that very place.
それじゃあテンクルの意味がないって、こっちだって何度も口酸っぱくして言ってるでしょ。
There are two female students arguing near the school gate. One of them I don't know, but the other one is Minahoshi Asuho. That girl that I saw dressed as a maid just earlier today. I'm fairly certain if there were more passerbys beside myself, they would have stopped in their tracks to stare at them like I am now. That's just how loud the two of them are raising their voices as they exchange serious glares with each other, their tempers flaring in the tense atmosphere.
テンクルの意味って言われてもたかが同好会じゃない。視聴覚室を使わせてあげてるだけありがたく思ってよ。
She seems like a bitch.
視聴覚室だけじゃスクリーンに天体図映すくらいしかできないんだよ。いつまでもニヤニヤ眺めてればいいじゃない。それじゃあ健全な天体観測とは言えないんだよ。あなたたち同好会にはそれで十分でしょ。全然十分じゃないんだよ。最近なんかみんな飽きちゃってトランプ三昧になってるんだよ。 これで視聴覚室も取り上げる理由ができたわけね。どうしてそこまでテンクルおめの敵にするんだよ、こももちゃんは。私のこと名前で呼ばないで。今日は七夕なんだよ。7月7日は雨の確率が統計で 70% 以上もあるのに、今年はなんと晴れなんだよ。蝦夷中なんだから雨でいいのに。織姫と彦星が私を待ってるんだよ。天帝に引き裂かれた2人は今年ようやく催涙雨を枯らすことができたんだよ。
Lacrimal rain?
催涙雨というのは織姫と彦星が流す涙のことですよ。七夕の日の雨をよくそんな風に呼ぶんです。
The next thing I know, another female student is standing near me. I didn't notice the presence also. It startles me a bit.
以前にもお見かけしましたね。彼女さんとは仲直りされましたか？
The misunderstanding from the other day is still alive and
今
well.
日は何かひばり港にご用ですか？観光客さん。
See, I'm actually not a tourist. This makes the second self-introduction I've had to do today. My name is Kokosaka Yo, and I'll be transferring to Hibari High as a second-year student next Monday. Pleasure to meet you. Let's introduce myself in a relatively polite fashion. It's the second time I've moved, so I have a very vivid understanding of how important the first impression actually is when it comes to people.
これはご丁寧にありがとうございます。私はひばり校の2年生、久垣小雨と申します。
She one-ups me and returns an even more polite
今
self-introduction.
日は転入手続きに来られたんですか？
The other two are still fiercely at it, but I have to say over here is rather tranquil. I have already gone through all the necessary transfer procedures for that matter, so that isn't quite the reason I've made my way here. It's just that at the
敬
present...
語じゃなくてもよろしいですよ。私たち同学年じゃないですか。
Honestly, I'd like her to stop talking so politely herself. That's
以
how she
前も
feels.
この近くを歩いていましたよね。
Yeah, I had some stuff I needed to do at the lookout. The same goes for the day,
展
actually.
望台
She tilts her head to the side
でも
questioningly.
あそこは立ち入り禁止なのに、どんなご用で？
早く屋上の鍵貸してってば。もう一番星見えちゃってるし、急いで望遠鏡を運ばないとなんだよ。そんなに天体観測したいなら自分の家の屋根でやればいいじゃない。あたしんち喫茶店だからそんなことできないんだよ。以前やろうとしたら外から見えるし集客に関わるって言ってお父さんがダメ出ししたんだよ。じゃあ潔く諦めることね。諦めきれないからこんなに頼んでるんじゃない。どうして分かってくれないの、こももちゃんは。私のこと名前で呼ばないでって言ってるでしょ。
相変わらず平行線ですね。はずほさんと姉さんは。
Yes, I just says that the girl who's arguing with that maid looks a good bit like the girl in front of me. More like they are practically identical.
七夕だったら天体観測じゃなくて笹の葉に短冊結んで願い事でもやってたらいいじゃない。そんなバレンタインさんを祝わないでチョコだけ送るような真似するなんてテンクルの直れなんだよ。たかが同好会にはぴったりね。
Like, is she such a bitch?
そもそもテンクルを部として認めてくれないのもこももちゃんのせいじゃない。名前で呼ばないでって何度言ったらわかるの？それと天体観測愛好サークルを部として認めないのは部員数が少ないからであって私のせいじゃないでしょ。そんなことない。部員が集まらないのもきっとこももちゃんの差し金なんだ。自分の非を他人に転嫁するのはやめてくれる？絶対こももちゃんのせいなんだ。絶対こももちゃんのせいなんだ。名前を連呼するの今すぐやめないと部だけじゃなくて同好会も潰すわよ。
どうもキリがないようですので、私行きますね。
What's your plan?
姉さんの怒りを鎮めてからあずほさんをなだめます。
She gives me a quick bow, then walked away. I'm awfully curious how she intends to go about ending their dispute, which is only continuing to grow more heated by the moment. I can't afford to redneck forever myself. Not that I mean to throw the maid's words, but today is Tanabata after all. Tanabata is a special day to me. It is a day on which I, the lookout girl, made a promise of reunion. Over the past year, she hasn't found traces of anyone at all entering the lookout located further up from here, and yet now, to begin with, her target, who is a student at Hibari High, detests the lookout. It shouldn't even occur to her to willingly go to the place. To her, the lookout is a place ought to be avoided, a place she can't bring herself to forget, the fork in the road that threw her life off course. So bringing all that into consideration, it would be quite hard to think she would appear at this place again. Though if she in fact did appear to her convenience, it would only hasten her work.
とすると、これは別人か。
The girl glares coldly at the footprints scattered around the ground. Judging by their size, they appear to be two different individuals, likely one belongs to a guy and the other to a girl. There are a lot more footprints made by the guys. It appears that he comes here much more often. Footprints continue onward, leading into the woods that extend to the side of the road. One can infer that from that piece of information that they circumvent the defense and then headed up to the lookout.
物好きもいるものだな。
It would be plausible for some tourists to have simply ignored the fact of the area being off limits and forced their way in to reach the lookout, but that conjecture crumbles if it's the same person coming repeatedly. Also, yes. The only possibility is that the person is heading to the lookout with some sort of objective in mind.
何が目的かは知らないが、私の邪魔だけはしないでくれよ。
She, who is currently enrolled in Hibari High, despite the fact that she holds no right to be. The job that she's been tasked with is to return that girl to where she belongs. The process of achieving that, this place here, is the goal line, so to
ゴール
speak.
手前で石につまずくことだけは避けたいからな。
If his objective is something entirely harmless, such as sightseeing, then no problem arises. He wouldn't visit the lookout too often anyways. To her, the worst case scenario is if his objective is something on a similar level to, say, going to school. It would make it necessary for him to visit the lookout on a daily basis. In this case of that, she would be left with no other choice but to eliminate him. That essentially entails the type of work she does for her job, and hence why she wants to avoid the eyes of others as much as
どうし
possible.
たものかな。
Either way, the only information she currently possesses concerning him are the footprints that dot the ground, so at this point in time, she simply lacks the knowledge to make an educated decision. The most productive course of action would be to next gain a grasp on what exactly his objective is, and as fast as possible. Once his objective has been made clear, the next step will be to decide whether it will be necessary to eliminate him. The girl begins to ponder whether she should begin by tracing the footprints or heading to the lookout. However, before she has arrived at an answer, her thought process is interrupted. She hears the sound of footsteps approaching from down the hill.
これはまた。
The person in question has now arrived before her, thus exempting her from the need to ruminate about what to do. You could say the stone came rolling to her without the need to move an inch. However, is it a stone big enough to trip her up or make her fall, or is it a stone so tiny that she can step on it with bare feet with no cause of worry? Should she remove it before breaking the tape, or wait? The pathetic expression on her face, the girl brushes the glossy, beautiful hair out of her eyes. When the fence blocking the way to the lookout comes into view, I notice another person standing near it. Taking into account the fact that I haven't come across a single other person during my visits here until now, it shocks me rather than giving me a pleasant feeling. She, on the other hand, doesn't seem all too surprised, instead giving me the impression she might have been expecting me. A tourist? That speculation doesn't come just because I haven't seen her before. Since I've been away for a while, there are a fair share of locals who I've never seen before as well. Rather, what leads me to think this was that, judging by those Hibari High students said, it is pretty uncommon knowledge among locals that the lookout is off limits. And if you know that you couldn't go up to the lookout, you have virtually no reason to purposefully make the cumbersome climb up the hill. Therefore, if you were to list one group of people that wouldn't have this information, it would be outsiders, like tourists, for example. Tourists, for instance. That being said, it includes people like me that have a specific objective.
この先は立ち入り禁止だ。観光なら立ち去ることをお勧めするが。
She says it in an indifferent tone. She is quite obviously a girl based on her looks, but on the other hand, her tone is more deep and masculine, which results in an overall gender-neutral impression. No, like, I see very much femininity there. Like, are you fucking retarded? I will beat you over the head if you insult her anymore like that. No, I'm not a tourist. How many times have I been forced to clarify this just there? I just happened to move to this town just the other day. The name is Yukozaka-yo. Pleasure to meet you. Going through my self-introduction is also the process of becoming routine.
とすると、やはりこの展望台が立ち入り禁止なのは知らなかったのか?
Different from the people I've met until now, she doesn't give me her name despite me introducing herself. No, I know about that.
じゃあ、君はなぜここを訪れている?
Just a little something you need to take care of.
君がここを訪れるのは、これが初めてじゃないということか.
Well, yeah, since I'm doing stuff here.
何の用だ?
What is with her? Why does she keep throwing those aggressive questions at me like she's conducting some police interrogation? Are you one of the officials of whoever erected this fence by any chance? In that case, it is unilaterally me who was in the wrong here.
そういうわけじゃないが.
She listlessly brushes the hair on the shoulder behind her before
た
continuing
だ、
on.
最近この展望台に勝手に立ち入っている輩がいたようなので、気になったんだ.
She directs a cold gaze at my face. How does she know I was trespassing? Sort of like I'm being interrogated, which makes me feel awfully uncomfortable.
それで、君はこの先の展望台にどんな用がある?
If you aren't an official of who put up the fence, then it's none of your concern what I'm doing and why, right?
この町の住民として、一応注意はできると思うが.
So she's a tourist but a local. You mean warn me not to enter here?
まあ、そうだ.
Sorry, but I'd like to turn a blind eye towards this.
できれば今すぐ立ち去ってほしいんだがな.
Well, that's a bit of a problem, you
どう
say.
しても行くのか? 大事な用なのか?
Yes.
どんな用なんだ?
I'd rather keep that to myself.
言えないのか?
Isn't like I have ill intentions or anything, but I don't really feel like explaining my reason for coming here to a person I've literally just
言
met.
えないというのは、やましい事情があるということか.
Nah, it's not the
な
case.
ら答えてくれ.
It's only natural for you to caution me given the situation, but I am not obligated to tell you my objective now.
残念だがそうなるな.
Okay, I'm in a hurry, so I'll be going now. Ending the conversation with that, I head towards the woods. I really don't have any ill intentions, but because of her, I now needlessly have that feeling. Thanks a lot.
もう一つだけ聞かせてくれ.
Just like she's done the whole time during our conversation, she speaks at an emotionless and different
君は
tone.
これからもこの展望台を訪れるのか?
Probably, yeah. Chances are I would. At the very least, until the day I met the lookout girl again.
そうか.
Leaving me with that short remark, she leaves. The fact that I've pointlessly wasted time gives me a feeling of trepidation, which compels me to make for the lookout at a quickened pace. However, there isn't a single person there. Can spot the Grim Reaper and the rest girl known as Mare anywhere. Feeling of letdown causes a release of tension, and I sit down on the grassy spot nearby. Seems I'm only able to meet Mare at night. It's the second time I've come here around dusks, but just like last time, she isn't here. Memory serves me, Mare herself said she wouldn't be here on cloudless nights. What? So does that mean she couldn't come here when the sky isn't clear? Shouldn't it be cloudy nights? Not cloudless? She would be here on cloudless nights. But really, I felt for her parents. She must be absolutely worried, sick with a daughter her age, having a habit of sneaking out so damn late to go play. High up in the sky above the townscape, I have an unbroken view from here. What? I have an unbroken view from here. What? No, high up in the sky over the townscape, I have an unbroken view up from here. It's a single star that twinkles there lonesomely like a lost child. Summon's evening star, Jupiter. Venus is also often referred to as an evening star as Hesperus, but since that star is twinkling at the zenith of the sky, it should be Jupiter. The star that shines at a lower position in the west sky would be Venus. It's because of the Lookout Girl's influence that I've become more and less informed about the stars. Even though back when I was living in this town, I didn't know anything more than what I'd learned in science class at school. After I parted from her, maybe it was to distract myself from the ensuing loneliness or something, but it became common for me to immerse myself in illustrated astronomy encyclopedias, memorized constellations, and often read about the different myths related to them. A particular note in that regard would be the Tanabata legend. I've reread it more times than I can even remember. Don't explain the fucking Tanabata legend, please. I think the past me probably used to contrast our situation to that of Orihime and Hikoboshi. Didn't find anything about Orihime giving Hikoboshi a kiss on the forehead in Yearbook. Plus, different to Orihime, I highly doubt that the lookout girl was into weaving in the first place. However, all those are mere afterthoughts to me. I simply gaze up at the night sky on Tanabata, waiting for us to someday reunite. The 7th of July is still a part of the rainy season, so it clouded over most of the time. Even if we did have clear weather, in the city, Orihime and Hikoboshi could only be seen faintly due to all the air pollution and neon lights. So what I think it is precisely because I wasn't able to gaze up at a... So what I think is, it is precisely because I wasn't able to gaze up at a satisfying night sky on Tanabata that my feelings of missing her have only grown stronger as time went on. As time passed, the memories of my time with her began to gradually become obstructed by fogged glass. That glass resembled the Milky Way in the Tanabata legend. However, it is all thanks to Tanabata that these strong feelings of longing alone, still vivid inside of me at this very moment, haven't become cloudy. It is because I have so yearned for the starlit sky we gazed up at in Hibarigasaki that she is the one thing I didn't forget. I couldn't forget. Could ever possibly forget the sky that lay before me at this very moment. The sun is soon disappearing beyond the horizon far in the distance. The orange light that had engulfed the town has disappeared. Following that, the night sky along the sea has shown itself. Before my eyes, the stars engage in a contest, putting on a dazzling display. Adding all that brightness together, you might just be able to compare it to the sun. Nighttime sky in the city is nothing compared to this. It doesn't even fall short of the illustrations seen in astronomy encyclopedias. At this point, the summation of the surface area of the stars exceeds that of the black in between them. The sky feels so densely lit with stars that I could just about drown in them.
これが七夕の星空なのね。
Mare is near me, having supposedly gotten there sometime while I was unaware. A scythe in her hands, which I admittedly paired with her now, looks like it isn't quite capable of reflecting the abundance of starlight, causing the light to refract and disperse.
なんだか星が多すぎて怖い。
True. If I keep looking at them for a while, I start to feel the same.
綺麗なものも多すぎるとグロテスクになるのね。
Can't say I quite like that turn of phrase.
織姫と彦星ってどれかわかる？
See that band of light that looks like clouds? That's the Milky Way. The two stars immediately above it and below are Hikoboshi and Orihime.
上にあるのが
Orihime.
下が彦星。
Yep.
よくできました。
So she actually knows it
じゃあ
herself.
彦星は
Mare quietly speaks the words as if she's whispering to herself.
彦星は織姫のお尻に敷かれてるのかな。じゃあ約束ね。私たちは必ず再会すること。この展望台で必ず再会すること。織姫と彦星みたいに離れ離れになっても最後にはちゃんと二人は再会すること。そして再会したら結婚すること。結婚して私のお尻に敷かれること。どうしたの？間抜けな顔して。
It's nothing. Seriously, this girl keeps stimulating my memories to an extent that I have to ask myself whether she isn't actually just doing it on purpose. Admittedly, maybe I'm just overly self-conscious. Say, do you know how the Tanabata legend goes? Nair doesn't answer. If you don't, want me to tell you?
別にいい。
Ah, come on, don't be like that. Just listen, okay?
あなたが話したいだけじゃない。
Once upon a time, on the shores of the Milky Way, there lived a beautiful heavenly maiden named Orihime, who was the daughter of the god of all the heavens. Orihime rigorously followed her father's orders, and day after day diligently kept weaving, thus creating glittering, beautiful clothing. The god of the heavens was impressed by Orihime's fervor, but simultaneously he felt sorry for his daughter, who hadn't even the time to experience love despite her being a young maiden of marriageable age. So one day he decided to marry her off to a cowherd by the name of Kingyu. Thereafter, Orihime and Kingyu began to live together and spend every day in happiness and joy.
めでたしめでたし。
May arbitrarily ended the story. No, the story still goes on
彦
further.
星がまだ出てきてないものね。
Kingyu is a different name. Kingyu is a different name for Hikoboshi.
そうなんだ。
Yeah. Mayor is replying in a vague way that makes it impossible to tell whether she knows Tanabata legend or not. Anyhow, Orihime and Hikoboshi got married and were living a happy life as a couple. However, Orihime became too engrossed in her newfound married life and completely ceased weaving clothes, which should have been her sacred calling. For that, her father, who initially tolerated that by ascribing it to them being newlyweds, gradually grew angered and ultimately took Orihime back, away from Kingyu's side. God of the Heavens made Orihime live at the shores of the Milky Way once again and ordered her to weave. He then told her if she were to turn over a new leaf and approach her work with the same zeal she'd once had, he would allow her to see Kingyu just once a year, on the night of the 7th day of the month of July.
めでたしめでたし。
What is the happy ending if the story ends right there?
年に一度会えるならいいじゃない。私なんて何年も待ち続けていたのに。
For
あ
whom?
なたを
Why?
知らない。
I rarely shrug my shoulders. Want to hear the rest?
うん。
Orihime, having been separated from her beloved Kingyu, thus grew motivated by the prospects of reunion once a year and started to diligently weave clothing after clothing again. Kingyu, too, took their promise of reunion to heart, and assiduously immersed himself in his work as the two of them awaited the 7th of July with anticipation. However, when it rains on that day, the rainwater makes the water level of the Milky Way increase, thus rendering it impossible for Orihime to cross over to the other shore, where Hikoboshi is. Standing on opposite shores of the Milky Way that separates them, the two of them deeply grieve over not being able to reunite. All they can do is gaze at the river's surface as they weep. Separated by my moving and promise of reunion in my heart, I've been indeed been zealous. I learned as much as I could about the stars. Well, sure, compared to an actual astronomer, the knowledge was presumably very little, but it exceeded the difference of knowledge between a child and a grown-up. However, I was nonetheless now able to effortlessly recite the Tanabata legend from memory, just like I was doing now. That meant I could also tell it to her, with her deep love of the stars. It wasn't all. I could also recite the more famous myths surrounding the constellations in a romantic fashion. I could teach her about those too. As thanks for teaching me how much fun it was to play with a friend, I could, in exchange, teach her about stars. Honestly, I wanted to teach her much more about the stars before our parting.
雨が降ったら織姫は彦星に会えないのね。
Not quite. I force myself to speak in a cheerful tone of voice. When the Milky Way becomes flooded with rain, unable to bear the sight of the two lovers wallowing in sorrow, magpies come flying.
カササギ
They're passerine birds of the crow family.
小さそうな鳥ね。
You'd be right. That's why they appear as a flock. Then they each spread out their wings as wide as can be and line up to form a bridge, thus helping Orihime cross over to Kingyu's
め
side.
でたしめでたし。
Yep, they all lived happily ever after. Take a hearty breath to unwind. Did you like it?
普通だった。
You love the stars?
どうして？
Because they're always here at the lookout on nights with a clear sky.
うん。
Or are you actually coming here in order to wait for me? Mira remains silent, only continuing to stare at me. There might be some meaning included in that gaze of hers, but I can't quite put my finger on what it is. At the moment I can't spot a single cloud in the starlit sky. There are no obstacles in the way of the stars. There are near this Tanabata
あ
night.
なたにとってのカササギが
High up above us, Orihime and Higoboshi have
い
reunited.
つか現れますように。
Mira slowly draws closer to me.
ちょっと目つむって。
Oh hey, actual character model for once. Why?
なんでも
Sounds kinda scary.
怖くないから。
I mean, you have a scythe. That's not very reassuring.
早くしてったらお姉さんの言うことが聞けないの。
Hearing these words, I can only comply. I do as she says, but thereupon a short period of time transpires, during which nothing
まだ
happens.
目開けないでね。
Those words come from my immediate vicinity, throwing me into a commotion despite the fact that she is a
開けたら
child.
絶望だからね。
It is all too strange. There isn't a single aspect that differs from my memories. It's almost like they were being replayed. It can hardly be anything else but an illusion that I am experiencing. But there is another side of me that insists that it isn't the case. This is my past self. Kogasaka Yule was still just a young boy back then. My current mature self thinks of Mare as an entirely different girl from the Lookout Girl, but my past self from within my memories is overlapping the two. That may be because the boy from within my memories still looks the same as back then, just like Mare, who looks like her at that time. I loved that girl. I still can't tell for sure whether those feelings were romantic, but regardless of that, my love for her was true all the same. So then, why is it that I was never able to put these feelings into words, at least shortly before my moving? If she happens to go on and kiss me on the forehead in a reproduction of my memories, I might respond to her with these words. If she tells me not to open my eyes before I finish counting to 60, I might ignore that and open my eyes and confess to her. Please don't leave me. I love you. I owe you so much. We're the first person to become the friend of something like me. Someone who never even thought of making
あり
friends.
がとう。ようくん。
That moment, something lightly touches him. And he's dead. However, the sensation is not on my forehead, but on my chest. So the sensation feels almost irrational in nature. For instance, is it possible to take the sensation I'd experienced from someone kissing on my forehead and perfectly reproduce that sensation on my chest? That is straight up impossible, because of course I'm wearing clothes. So how is it that I'm able to feel this clear warmth directly on my skin through my clothes? I open my eyes. Since she hadn't told me to count to 60 like the Lookout Girl did in my memories, I do so without any accompanying feelings of guilt. Just like having sunken a stick into starch syrup, Maya is holding her massive scythe in hand, as it is deeply buried within my chest. That's rude.
できればあなたが悪夢を思い出している間にはしたくなかったけど。
Sight is so genuinely shocking that I have no mental leeway to feel something like guilt in response to what awaits me upon opening my eyes.
そんなことも言ってられなかったから。
If I were to express the level of shock numerically, the value would surely range much higher than the number of stars spread across the sky's canvas.
あなたの悪夢は膨らむ一方だったから。
The scythe's blade plunges deeper inside, while that tremendous amount of shock transforms into intense fear. No matter how you look at it, it is taking place before my eyes. What is taking place before my eyes is entirely beyond reality, but at the same time, it has a strange sense of vividness to it, making me just want to scream out. However, my voice remains stifled within me. The visual information my eyes are feeding me throws my autonomic nerves into disarray, paralyzing both my tongue and throat. And it's also the reason why I don't feel any pain. Or it's because I've simply lost it. That this vivid sensation feels not like pain, but like a warm light
これ
instead.
であなたの悪夢は一つ狩られた。
Is that why the warm light-like sensation resembles the first kiss from my memories? Is that why it feels so exactly like the Lookout Girl kissed me on the forehead? Kissed me on... Huh? Something feels terribly off. moment an enigmatic anxiety surges forth. Anxiety you'd expect to feel upon being lost in a department store or even entered for the first time, undefined to your complete bafflement upon exiting that the world around you has changed entirely. You forgot her name, didn't you? It is a kind of sensation akin to that, as if you were suddenly derived from the reality you thought you knew. What is this? What happened to my body? What is this something I'm so desperately trying to recall? Trying to see it with my mind, but I don't even know what it is I should be seizing in the first place.
もう何度も言ったじゃない。
Slowly tears streamed down Mare's face.
私は悪夢を狩る死神だって。
That very moment her tears seemed to be more beautiful than any star in the night sky. Something I've been trying to keep hold of, then disappears.
そのために私はあなたを待っていたって。
It's completely gone. I wish meant so much to me. She meant so much to me. I'll never be able to meet again at this rate. Will remain upset with me and continue avoiding me forever. Having lost that precious I'll never be able to reunite with Huh? What is this? I loved was the first friend I ever had. That was why even after parting with I didn't forget her and taught myself everything I could about the stars. So loved. I meant to teach her about all that after I'd reunited with her. Then together she and I would.
やめて。もう思い出さないで。
The hell was this? How could this?
辛いのはやだよ。
Finally realized I forgot it. I've forgotten its name. Without notice, even though there is no doubt in my mind that I clearly remember it only mere seconds ago. Information that it alone is wiped clean from my mind as if a gaping hole was opened up in my memories. What the fuck is this? Without it, I won't be able to see her again. I'll never be able to see her again. Now that I've forgotten its name, I've lost my biggest lead. There's any chance at seeing her again. Please, just please! Stop this. I remembered her. I promised her we'd see each other again. It's that promise alone which has kept me from forgetting her after the passing of all these years. I made absolute sure not to forget it by any chance over all these many, many years. What's this you're doing? The mysterious sight which is unfolding before my eyes tells me more than clearly what has brought about this strange occurrence. Give it back. It was a memory so precious to each. At each given moment in time, just as it was my sacred calling, I'd kept wiping it so it wouldn't disappear beyond that frosted glass. And yet she's violated all that work in an instant. Back, damn it! She's clouded over his name that had always remained vivid and untarnished. Give me back her name!
いや。
While tears stained her face, she squeezed out her words in between sobs.
だって私は死神だもの。悪夢を刈り取る死神だもの。
Are you trying to say her name is a nightmare? You.
そうよ。あなたが忘れたんだったらそうよ。
Her endless flowing tears were strikingly reminiscent of the lacrimal rain of the torn apart lovers summon.
よかったね。
With a contorted, tear-stained face, she nevertheless spoke firmly and with resolution.
これで悪夢に悩まされずに済むんだものね。
The vastness of the sky is filled with a myriad of stars on this Tanabata night. Surrounded by a frighteningly thick sea of nights, Urime and Hikoboshi remain, as before, separated by the Milky Way.
本当によかったね。よく。
The heavenly couple then disappears behind the clouds. Now, what the fuck? I'm just confused at this point. Like, I'm sure they're supposed to be hella touching and all that, but I'm just confused. of extra value.
見上げた空きらめいてる流星時を超えて願いを運んでゆく遠い記憶小さな丘の上で語り合った大きな未来の夢繋いだ指先離れても忘れないからと約束したいつか叶える物語映し出す二人を結ぶプリズム同じ空をどこかで見ているから君に伝える歌が
Fucking opening told me is it fucking crushed my hopes that the girl that we saw in front of the fence has a route in this. So fuck you. Other than that, it's a banger, and I saw a blank face, funny expression on Mare, and that's great. I don't think we've ever seen like the actual entrance area here. Also, all I can think of is like, yes, she stabbed him with the scythe, in order to reap the nightmare. But since I made like the Merry Nightmare comparison, like all I can imagine is like, what if Mary had to do that? Like she just fucking like square up, just punches him in the face. Alternatively, the guillotine sword. That may sound odd, because, you know, it's a fucking guillotine sword. That just sounds like an odd word, it's an odd phrase. I mean, just... Is there an image where one can see the sword here? Nah. Nah, apparently there isn't. Maybe on this page. I like how they had to like separate the anime and the manga in the plot synopsis, since they vastly differ. It's kind of funny. It's just described as saw guillotine sword. That's all it's described as. Kui Meri. So guillotine sword. Is that like give me an image of that? Sadly, it doesn't actually. I remember there being like a really nice image of it. Maybe if I just... I guess that shows it off, but at the same time, I don't really want to show off the character that's wielding it there. Well, I could show off that one, but that's just even bigger spoiler. I forgot that! I forgot that panel! I forgot that panel in the manga. Fuck. Oh, that one actually works. That one actually works, kinda, I guess. Let me just open image in a new tab. Add display capture. There. That's what I mean. Fucking guillotine saw sword. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't need to, though. Just accept it. I need to reread this. Though I'm probably not going to use the actual physical copies I have, since they're in German, and reading things in German feels odd to me at this point. It's quite bad. Anyways. I'm still not ready, Cheat! I mean, Jesus! Hurry up! I'm standing at the entrance as I shout up the stairs. What is taking you so long? At this rate, we'll be late on our first day!
だってこの制服着るの初めてだからリボンとかボタンとかうまく止められないんだもん
Apparently experiencing various hardships getting herself prepared for school, my sister is still cooped up in her room. I impatiently sat down here while waiting on Chinami to hurry herself up, feeling both a bit emotional and slightly uneasy in response to the well-starched uniform I have on. For both Chinami and myself, today marks our first day as official students of Hibari High. Of course, us being transfer students, we have to drop by the faculty office before the start of Homeroom to meet our respective Homeroom teachers, which is why I wanted to get a bit of a head start this morning. But yeah, so much for that. Quick glance at my cell phone's watch tells me I have only 10 more minutes until the ringing of the bell. Judging by my prior experiences climbing Yumimi Hill on my way to the lookout, I'd say if we left right this instant, we might just barely make it. It's my first day at Hibari High, and I don't even have the time to cherish the starting of this new chapter in my life.
お待たせお兄ちゃん制服も着終わったし髪もセットしたし準備万端いざひばり校へレッツゴー
One thing before that, did you put on your name tag?
ちなみは幼稚園児じゃないよ
Did you take along a handkerchief?
それだったらスクバに入ってるよ
Which, strangely enough, don't see anywhere.
そんなわけないよちなみの右手がしっかりくっきり力いっぱいちなみ愛用スクバを掴んでるよ
Sure doesn't look like that to me. What you're holding up right now isn't your book bag, but your piggyback.
なんてこと
Run up and get your school bag now, and don't you make me wait a second more!
これはまさか餌を与えなかった小豚の呪いが
No, you just grabbed the wrong thing, stupid. Go and get your book back before I leave it behind!
そんなのやだやだすぐ戻ってくるから絶対待っててねお兄ちゃん
Watching Chinami's back as she bolts up the stairs, I can't keep myself from heaving a heavy sigh. Back when we were still living in the city, Chinami would also leave for school right on the edge of time. The empirical probability of me waiting for her, or not, was a clean 50%. Despite the fact that our school is now so close that we can walk instead of using a bus like we used to have to, that tendency of hers hasn't changed one damn bit. As I get tired of waiting and leave the house, I run into a female student that is just about to pass right in front of me. The moment our eyes meet, the girl stops in her tracks. I definitely remember that face. She's the girl that showed up at the door when we went to say hello to our neighbors. Judging by her uniform, she's a Hibari High student. Hello there. Choose to play it safe and go for a slightly polite greeting. Though I'm actually pretty positive she's younger than me. Hibari High has 2 sets of uniforms, and the one she has on is the uniform the kids a grade below me wear. Besides, there's also the fact that she's clearly younger than me appearance-wise. All she does is a sheer curt nod in reply before presuming walking in the direction of Yumimi Hill. Hold on! As I recall after it stopped, she questioningly tilts her head, looking back at me. You're going to school, right? Would you mind if I joined you? I mean to get on a friendly terms with our neighbors right away. Maybe you could pin it on the calm, soothing atmosphere of Hibari Gasaki in sharp contrast to the bustling hecticness of the city. As you could say, it's sort of, well, made me feel more relaxed and friendly. Anyhow, it is important to maintain a wholesome relationship with those who live around you. Today's actually my first day at Ibari High, so I'd really appreciate it if you could help me get accustomed to the place. Show me where things are, you know.
ああ、お兄ちゃんがお隣さんと親睦深めてる。この前メイドさん食べたばかりなのにまた食べようとしてる。そんなに我慢できないならちなみもデザートに。
Have we met before?
他人のふりされてる。
いつかの変な人。
ちなみは変な人じゃないよ。以前のあれはこの人の陰謀であってちなみは悪くないんだよ。だから仲良くしてね、葵ちゃん。
Don't address her in such a casual way from the get-go. Yeah, sorry, I'll have to excuse her. This knucklehead over here is quite lacking when it comes to manners.
いつかの変な人の変な保護者。
She mentally put me on the same category as Chinami. Why did I slip up? My first impression should have been flawless for all intents and purposes. But we're opposite to Chinami's. Our neighbor walks off, going up the hill by herself. Well, thanks, you little snot. Now, because if you knew, our neighbor thinks I'm some circus freak,
自
too.
業自得でし
Did you lock the front door?
ょ。バッチリだよ。
Since Aunt Chino's still sleeping, we gotta be careful not to forget about that. Alright, let's get going then.
その前に見て見て、お兄ちゃん。ちなみのお乳の制服だよ。かわいいでしょ、美しいでしょ。お兄ちゃんが望むならこの姿でお料理だってお掃除だって。
Neighbor, go away from me!
逃げないでよ、お兄ちゃんのバカ。
I hike up the hill. I hardly see any other students on the way to school, which I can only pin on the fact that we left at such a late time. That in turn enables me to evidently find our neighbor friend, in spite of the fact that we are cutting it close. Her walking pace is awfully leisurely, though thanks to that I managed to catch up to her in no time. Hey there. As I line myself up next to her, she sluggishly turns my way.
また出た。
Christ, she makes it sound like I'm some ghost haunting her. If you don't mind, could we walk to school together? Put myself out there and invited with the most friendly smile I can muster. Her face, on the other hand, is quite literally devoid of any expression whatsoever. She responds with neither a yes nor a no. 1 second went by, 2 seconds, and it doesn't change. An awkward mood starts to encase us. I guess you could say, I sort of feel like I tripped the moment I set forth. She's still upset about the fraud-esque thing we pulled to lure her out of her house the other day.
追いついたーっと。
Minami suddenly pops up from behind us.
また出た。
ねえねえ、葵ちゃんって何年生？下の名前はなんて言うの？
For once in my life, I'm actually thankful for Shinobi's audacity and its ability to instantaneously blow away the awkward mood. I'm Kokosaka Yo's second year Antibody High, and this is my little sister Shinobi. She's a first year. Go ahead and introduce ourselves first to make it easier for her to reply.
1年。青いいすず。
Still wearing that expressionless face, she answers about as concise can get. So, looks you and Chinami will be in the same grade, huh? My thoughts turn out to be correct. Saying, I don't know, you sure don't want to get you sure you don't want to pick up your pace a little bit? I mean, the bell's about to ring in just a few minutes here.
なんか、慣れ慣れしくなった。
If that rubbed you the wrong way, my bad. Still as expressionless as before, she then falls silent. Yep, keeping up a conversation with her is a bit of a task.
葵ちゃんって1年の何組なの？葵ちゃんと同じクラスになれるといいな。部活は何入ってるの？葵ちゃんと同じ部活に入りたいな。でもちなみは文化系よりも運動系が得意だから、葵ちゃんが文化系の部活だったら残念だけど離れ離れになっちゃうかな。それでも遊びに顔出すからね。
Chinami keeps firing off words with her characteristic machine gun mouth and not even slightly fazed by Aoi's attitude of thorough disregard. Her feat of having made 100 friends back during her time in school in the city wasn't just for show. Is it perhaps that you're still upset about what happened when we came to say hello the other day?
そんなことないです。
At last, I get a proper answer out of her! I'm really sorry about that. I mean, I'll bring over souffles again sometime soon.
お構いなく。
それにしても葵ちゃんって純真純情少女だね。新聞の集金だって言ったらあっさり引っかかっちゃうし。
黙れゲロ。
Did she just say that?
失礼。
I don't quite get this girl. I fucking like her though. Get fucked, Gina B.
葵ちゃんって面白い。
As per usual, Jinami's very person still remains blind to the meaning of discouragement. Anyhow, we eventually reach Ibari High School gate through trial and tribulation with our neighbor friend. I should have looked at my cell phone and note that we are already down to 3 minutes until the ringing of the bell. Yeah, Zoe keeps up at her leisurely pace, off in her own world as she enters the school grounds. You and I have to drop by the faculty room now, Jinami. Come on, we gotta hurry.
葵ちゃん、また今度お話ししよ
Oh, he wordlessly disappears into the school building.
うね。初日なのにもう友達ができちゃったよ。
Her chat with her new friend didn't really amount to much of anything, but apparently Jinami is entirely content nonetheless. Sure would be nice if you two wound up in the same class, huh? I'd entered the school building once before, back when I came here to take care of our transfer formalities on the day we arrived in Hibarigasaki. Hence, I still remember which entrance is, but our own lockers, thus also slippers, haven't been prepared yet. Consequently, we can't go in through the main entrance. So I make a beeline for the visitor's entrance, all the while praying that the bell will wait for us. The faculty room is located on the first floor of the school building. Since Jinami and I are in different grades, we also have different homeroom teachers to go see. Accordingly, this is where our ways part. By the time I've exchanged a simple introduction with my homeroom teacher, the bell is already rung. Led by that teacher, we leave the faculty room and go to the third floor. After walking down the hallway for a short while, the teacher then halts before a door. Moonspeak. This is the class I've been assigned to. Leaving me with a simple wait out here for now, he enters the classroom. I suppose he's going to introduce me to the class during the morning homeroom session that is starting now. When he brings me before the class, I'll have to introduce myself in front of him. Not gonna lie, I'm pretty nervous. The situation I'm currently in perfectly resembles the one I experienced during my first time moving. I've had that exact same feeling. Questions like, will I be able to situate into the class, and will my new classmates accept me, flooded to my mind, causing a nagging anxiety to surge forth that made me almost want to just run away. I've been through this once before, but I doubt it is something I will ever get used to. And I'm positive the same goes for just about everyone. I wonder how Jinami is holding up. Knowing that girl, she'll no doubt go pointlessly overboard for her self-introduction, and with her characteristic cheerfulness and vitality at her disposal, I'm quite sure she'll be friends with everyone in no time. What about me, though? Will I be able to sift my way into the class as easily as her? Will it be like last time? I go through some hardships at first, but gradually make my way there eventually. Stop being so pessimistic. At this rate, I'll just end up the laughing stock of the class. The lookout girl would laugh at me. She was the one who taught me how much fun it is to spend time with friends. I've come to taste that feeling for myself. I'm different from the old me. I am different from the old me that from before I'd met her. I would ignore my classmates' invitations to do stuff together. Main at school I transferred to when we moved away from Hibarigasaki, despite the hardships I went through at first. I ended up making a good amount of friends, all things considered. Although in that regard, it's still pale in comparison to Chinami. As I raise my head, my eyes meet with those of a female student who is walking down the hallway. Her face looked somewhat familiar, but more importantly, why is she wandering out the hallways while homeroom has already started?
そこの生徒、もうホームルームが始まってるのに、なんで教室の外に出てるのよ。
What do you know? I thought so exactly.
早く教室に戻りなさい。
Well, I'd really like to, but the thing is, wait, why are you asking me when you're doing the same thing?
生徒会のミーティングが長引いただけだから、とにかく早く教室に戻りなさい。
Well, the thing is, I'm a transfer student and this is my first day. Sure hope that is a sufficient enough explanation for her so I wouldn't have to spell everything out.
ああ、そういうこと。
Looks like she got the
あ
idea.
なたが小笠坂陽くんなんだ。
Well, the fact that I even gave away my name is a bit unexpected.
早くひばり校に馴染みなさいね。そうしたらまた会いに来るから。
What exactly does that mean? The girl walks off, heading further down the hallway. I guess that means she isn't in my class. As I stand there, tilting my head in a puzzlement, I hear my homeroom teacher's voice. Alright, that is showtime, baby. Time to roll up my sleeves and nail the self-introduction. Because God knows I don't know how to get laughed. I don't want to get laughed at by that girl whose name I've now forgotten. I'll open the door and instantly find that being the only sound I hear. The classroom is shrouded in absolute silence. The atmosphere is evidently tense, almost making me break out into a sweat. I lined up next to the teacher, who's standing at the podium. Following that, I direct my gaze forward, get a look at my new classmates for the very first time. A couple dozen of curious pairs of eyes are staring me down. I'm met with unfamiliar faces everywhere I look, which is only to be expected, of course. Naturally, I feel a little overwhelmed, so much so that almost inadvertently take a step back. Could even spy a few students here and there, whispering back and forth between each other. Completely normal for them to think something was amiss with the fact that I've transferred during the odd month of July. Though, funny enough, there really isn't any particular rumor-bait kind of reason. I know full well they aren't staring at me this intently out of spite, but still, that doesn't make things any easier. The teacher says a few brief words to the class, then writes my name on the blackboard before turning it over to me to give a short self-introduction. Right. Have to talk in front of him? Even though that thought was still in my mind before entering the classroom, it had totally slipped from my mind sometime in between. Because of that strange girl who got on me in the hallway just now. Alright. So what exactly should I say about myself? Can't think of a single damn thing. My creed is to be prepared for everything at all times. This really isn't like me at all. Well, that is because my head has been occupied with other stuff. Thanks to that mere girl. After the event that transpired at the lookout, it's taken me a fair bit of time to regain my composure. The fact that I'm back to normal now isn't because I've given up on the lookout girl's name, but rather due to me having resolved myself to remember it, again at all costs. Wait, now is the time for that. Right now I'm giving myself introduction. But I haven't thought of any specific thing to say beforehand. It isn't the first time I've done a self-introduction. No need to panic. I've introduced myself just fine to all the people I've met here in Hibarigasaki since we started living here. Even if you leave that out of the equation, this is my first time changing schools. Just think of the kind of self-introduction I did back then. From what I remember, it was a little awkward. Self-introduction now, being what it is, I'm pretty sure it must have said something. I can't for the life of me remember what it was. There's also a chance that I didn't actually say anything at all then, contrary to my thoughts. I was only reigned by the strong desire to flee that place at once, ultimately rendering me unable to say anything. I just stood there waiting for the moment of eternity to hurry up and pass by. Though I don't need to think about that. I'm different now. I've grown. And I don't just mean my height. With both my mind and body having matured, I should have no problem nailing a self-introduction with confidence. But still, there's no denying that I kind of hurt myself by not thinking about this beforehand. I'm basically repeating myself at this point, but it's crucial that you give off a nice first impression when you meet someone. In that case, I suppose my best bet would be throwing in some jokes to accentuate that I'm an outgoing guy. But shit, what if they fall flat? Labeled as the king of cringe after introducing himself with several lame jokes in succession, it'd be a Herculean task to remove that smear on my name. I don't have the thick skin and courage like Jinami does. If it comes to that, I'd straight up refuse to go to school anymore. Which means I should avoid taking on that risk and stick with a safe, harmless, nice to meet you all and finish things off. I feel like that will bring only the opposite effect, making me come off as overly boring. In response to my continued silence, my classmates start to murmur amongst themselves, "Fuck, this isn't good." Before endlessly mulling over what to say, I should have just gone and said something. Who cares what? Just anything to clear this awkward silence. This way I don't get labeled an egghead that overthinks everything. What a second goddamn time too! Well, there went that maturity I thought I had. Right out the window. Speaking of the resonant voice amidst the boisterous classroom enters my ears.
みんなも静かにしようよ。小笠坂くん困ってるし、ちゃんと自己紹介聞いてあげようよ。
Amidst that sea of unfamiliar faces, there is one that isn't. The girl that stood up and raised her voice is that maid I met the other day.
クラス委員のアスハさんがこう言っているんですから、皆さんも落ち着いて小笠坂さんの言葉を待ちましょう。
Sitting at the desk in front of her is also the girl named Hisakaki Kosame. came across in front of Hibari High's school gate. The two of them are flashing bright smiles my way. Those smiles are proof that they are welcoming me, an outsider. The moment this thought passed through me, the self-introductions I exchanged with both of them resurfaced in my mind. Hello, my name's Kozakasaki Yo, and I'll be studying here together with all of you from here on out. I only just moved here the other day, so I would appreciate it if you could all help me. Thank you. At the end of the day, my self-introduction turns out to be the brief, safe kind. However, that following applause makes a way for relief wash over me. My desk is by the windows, of course. With the ring of the bell signaling the end of homeroom, we have now a 10-minute break until the start of our first class. Like, I remember back when I was still in school, I generally felt uncomfortable if I didn't sit all the way at one of the side walls. Like, it didn't fucking matter if it was all the way at the window or all the way at the inner wall. I just wanted to sit at the walls, basically. It's odd. It just felt uncomfortable for me to sit anywhere in the fucking middle. With the ring of the bell signaling the end of homeroom, we now have a 10-minute break until the start of our first class. Can you, like, not start 2 games at once so I can actually read the fucking text box? Thank you. As I'm in the middle of taking out my brand new textbook for our upcoming class, the girl sitting next to me doesn't waste any time striking up a conversation.
びっくりしたよ、小笠坂くん。
I just noticed that probably every single screenshot I taken has the fucking, like, ×1 up in the corner. The girl at the desk next to mine turns out to be the maid girl herself, Mina Hoshizora.
潜入するって聞いてたけど、私のクラスに来るんだもん。
Yeah, kinda caught me off guard too.
世間って狭いんだね。
Thank God for that too.
何が？
Oh, nothing, just a little something on my end.
また今度、私の店に食べに来てね。
Sure, but I'm a little short on cash now, so I might have to wait a bit. The purchase of 2 whole sideboards has left my wallet in a very miserable state.
貧血だったら、うちの店でバイトすればいいや。
Well, I mean, working at a maid cafe as a guy is kinda... Yeah, you get the idea.
別にメイド喫茶ってわけじゃないんだよ。あれはマスターの趣味でそうなってるだけだから。
Is that kind of guy? Wow, I give you props for actually working at that kind of place. Sounds like the kind of guy that you might find on a sex offender list.
バイトじゃなくてお手伝いね。その店、私の家なんだ。マイ自宅。
Me is already my. Yeah, my is basically redundant. Thank you.
で、私のお父さんがそのマスターなの。
So the creeper actually turns out to be her father, huh? Well, all things considered, that only worsens my impression of him. I mean, like a father dressing up his own daughter in a maid outfit.
そうそう。それで気になってたんだけど、うちの店に来た時に小学校の話したよね。
Kind of think of it, yeah. That's been bugging me too. She suddenly bends forward in my direction and starts to gaze directly at me with a stern countenance. What's her
小
deal?
笠坂くんってさ、もしかして。
Her face is way too close for comfort. The distance between us is so unbelievably short that I can actually feel her breathing on me. I hurriedly bent backwards to give myself some breathing room. She's so short-sighted or what? Minoshi?
あそうでいいよ。
Her face is plastered with an amiable smile as she says so. Alright then, asshole.
もう、呼び捨てでいいってば。私たちクラスメートでしょ。
Scratch the back of my neck in an attempt to gloss over my embarrassment. And I'll take you at your word and call you asshole.
ようちゃん。
Chan? Is she serious? Yeah, that feels tad weird.
じゃあ、ようくん
You can just drop the honorific for me.
それはさすがに恥ずかしい
I mean, it's certainly less embarrassing than your
よ。
Chan.
でも昔は、ようちゃんって呼んでたよね。
Also, once again draws closer to me with a jerk. Think about her words while challenging the limits of my body's flexibility as I bend back even further. Am I?
ようちゃんって、あのようちゃんだよね。
Which Yo-chan?
私も後で思い出したんだけど、私たちって小学校一緒だったよね。クラスもずっと一緒だったじゃない。ね、私 頭でっかちのようちゃん。
A girl with the name Hoshizora staring at me with from bright black rage, almost making her think she couldn't see you otherwise. Something clicks inside my memories when I try to think about a girl like that. At that time I used to be a real egghead, just like she said. Although it wasn't my intention to do so, I believe there was some vibe about me in a way that really made me come off as rude and condescending. Never once accepted people's invitations when they asked me to play with them, nor did it even cross my mind to invite others of my own accord. So as a matter of course, I didn't have any friends. I didn't even try to make any. It wasn't something that really weighed on me at all, and pretty much everyone else just accepted that and left me be. Despite that, there was a girl that always tried to get me to make friends and be social. That was simply out of pity or concern for a loner like myself, or whether she simply regarded me as a forbidden fruit that stirred her curiosity. I couldn't tell. Right, she was the class rep.
私のこと覚えてない？あの頃もクラス委員やってたんだけどな。
Rather than a dependable, stern kind of girl who could control the class with the snap of her finger, she was more like the sociable girl who was friends with everyone. Take the Tsundere class rep at my old school in the city, she was basically the exact opposite of that. I didn't know whether it was just because she was that kind of person, or her role as class rep gave her the idea, but Mina Hoshizora would always attach Chan to everyone's name. Girl or boy, no difference. She wasn't the kind of class rep that would unsparingly reprimand you and hold the reins of the class, but rather one that always kept up a pally vibe, as she naturally made everyone feel welcome and a part of the class.
思い出した？
Yep, no, not that I even had to try. It'd be seriously hard to forget someone who stood out as much as you.
本当かな？喫茶店で会った時は他人行儀だったくせに。
Ibarigazaki was my hometown. Meeting a classmate from back in grade school shouldn't be anything unusual at all. However, I was sure about myself and those classmates alike would have completely forgotten each other, so it would be as embarrassing as I actually have to kind of re-encounter now. And there's also something about it that made me feel warm inside.
都会に引っ越したって聞いて驚いたんだよ。急な話だったからさ。
Well, it was so sudden, even I was
ようちゃん
surprised.
頭良かったよね。前と同じでこの学校でも学年トップを維持したりするのかな。
Nah, I lost that title after I moved to the city.
やっぱり向こうの学校ってレベル高いの？
More like I was just slacking.
ようちゃん、昔もそんな風に自分はさも努力してないって感じだったのに、いつもトップだったからな。
I swear it's the truth. I've thrown away my egghead
じ
title.
ゃあ転入の時試験とかなかった？
Yeah, I
結
did.
果どうだった？
Oh no, I haven't gotten my score back
嘘っ
yet.
ぽいな。
It's true, I
さっ
promise.
きから楽しそうに話してるけど、お前らって知り合いなのか？
The guy sitting in front of me is alternating a glance riddled with curiosity between the two of
よ
us.
うちゃんとはね、小学校が同じだったんだ。
あれ、小笠坂って都会から引っ越してきたんだろ？
Ibarigasaki is actually my hometown. I moved out once in the past, but now I've actually found my way back here again.
ああ、なるほど。
アスカ君は私と小学校違うから、ようちゃんとは初めてだよね。
アスカ未来だ。ま、よろしく頼むわ。
Yeah, same here. It strikes me as a strange name, but I refrain from saying that out loud. Not wanting to be rude. I mean, Asuka, of course, Rod sounds like a female name. But Mirai is just future, and that's fine and all. But considering that the only character I personally know right now that's called Mirai is from Hoshizora Yume Mirai, as in fucking child that they have at the end of Monika's route. Who is a girl? So... Fuck, I missed again! I should put this closer to myself instead of leaving it there! I'm a massive fucking dunce! Sorry about that.
にしても、ずいぶん中途半端な時期に転入してくるんだな。もう1ヶ月もしないで夏休みだってのに、なんか、訳ありか？
He, on the other hand, just bluntly puts into words what he's thinking.
アスカさん、詮索は悪趣味だと思いますよ。それでも詮索したいのなら、もっと仲を深めてからにするべきかと。
This time, the girl sitting in front of Asuho joins our conversation. Her name I already know.
またお会いしましたね、転入生さん。今後とも吉野にお願いしますね。
Likewise.
なんだよ、そっちももう知り合いなのか。
少しばかりご縁があったんです。
Suppose I'll figure out what ultimately came of that fight from the other day when I get a chance to ask her. Man, who would have thought I'd end up in the same class as you too, Isakaki?
私は麻生さんと同級生ですからね。ですので、私も麻生さんと同じで、名前で呼んで構いませんよ。
Kosame sure is easier to fucking say. Sure thing, Kosame.
呼び捨てにはしてくれないんですか？冗談です。私はアスカさんと同じで、小ヶ坂さんと小学校が同じだったわけじゃありませんから。
私だけの特権だね。
お前と同じ学校通ってたやつなら他にもいるだろうがよ。
でもようちゃんのこと真っ先に思い出したのは私だからね。
アスホさんだけが思い出すわけじゃないと思いますよ。
Nah, she might. It's a fair bit ago when I moved away, so it wouldn't be strange if no one else remembered me.
ほらほら、私だけの特権だね。
ここは小ヶ坂さんの名誉のために否定すべきところだと思いますよ。
小ヶ坂、教科書とかはあんのか？
Yep, got him right here.
うわ、新品いいな。
誰もが最初は新品だったんですよね。
Like, the way that how in our school textbooks worked is that you didn't get them yourself, of course. The school had like in the basement had a massive rack of books. Just a massive storeroom full of all the textbooks for all the grades. And basically, at the start of every school year, we'd place those books. Those books would be given out in the basement. Every year, like a 10th grade class, a few 10th grade classes would be. Not classes, as like some volunteers from the 10th grade would be chosen to help give out those books. And basically, you would then like go downstairs, go down there in one of the first few days of the year and get those books. You would then write in the book. There's like a stamp in the book where it says like, okay, this one is the owner of this, is the user of this book in this school year. And while yes, sure, some would say like, oh yeah, the new textbook is best. Some of us would basically make a fucking contest out of getting the book that has the most names in it. Like, it was equally as sick to get a book with like 20 different fucking names in it as it was to get a brand new one. Basically. And I remember, like, when I was actually one of the people that had to help out when I was in 10th grade, and it was actually kind of chill helping out there. Especially since it meant that we helped out at the start of the year and at the end of the year. So we basically helped out there. And while waiting because we also had to be down there to wait if somebody wanted to like come in and borrow one of the books over summer break, in order to get some additional studying in. So we would just kind of sit down there, and we would just like play cards with the fucking teacher. Like, we just played cards with the teacher. And that was sick. That's actually something we did a lot, playing cards. We did that every fucking lunch break, and not just lunch break, every fucking break, basically. Like, we would just sit in the cafeteria and just play cards. And some of the times, like, something that happened once was that we were just playing cards, and one of the teachers was, like, walking around and, like, walked up behind me. Play that card. And he just started backseating me. And I fucking won because of him.
7月の今になってまだ新品のままだったら、そいつの学習態度がわかるってわけだ。
なんで私の教科書とようちゃんの教科書隣り合わせで比べるんだよ。
想定が新しいのはむしろ褒めるべきところですよ。それだけ大切に扱っているということですから。
皆星の場合は 外が綺麗で中が汚いけどな。いたずら書きが満載で。
勝手に人の教科書見ない
これでは救いがありませんね。くわばらくわばら。
でよ。友達だったら少しはフォローしようよ。
Alright, smile on my face, watch over the situation as it plays out. Before I entered the classroom, nervousness and anxiety had been coursing through me, and all these negative feelings have since spotlessly disappeared. I don't think I'll actually have that rough of a time fitting in here at this rate. That is because the lookout girl, in fact, isn't the only one person I remember. The one and only person I remember. There's more.
ようちゃん、私の教科書と交換しない？見た目は同じだし、別にいいよね。
Yeah, I'd rather not use a textbook that has meat written on Natsume Soseki's forehead. Classes are at about the same point in the curriculum as my previous school, so I'm about to slide right in without having any real difficulty. Had I not been able to keep up with my classes, I would have been forced to brace myself for the accompanying grade marks. But it seems like I've avoided that danger here. That another worry dissipates. And it was because of that feeling of relief that I was absently gazing at Atsu sitting straight to my right. It would seem that it was because of Atsu's role as a class rep that I got the next seat next to her. I assume my homeroom teacher did that out of consideration towards me as a transfer student. It's been ages since I last saw her, but one thing that hasn't changed since elementary is that whenever a teacher calls on her during classes, she promptly answers the problems and questions with exceeding eagerness. Her answers are wrong more often than not, but since she's always taking the initiative in trying at least, the teachers don't really scold her for it. Judging by the doodles in her textbooks, I figure because maybe she doesn't pay attention during class, but that is apparently far from the truth. She just has a problem with how long her attention can last. Yeah. There she goes, nodding off again. In the event that she actually falls asleep, I should take it up on myself as the person sitting next to her to wake her up. Because the fucking arm of the student sitting here, I was like, wait, is that fucking butt? Out of the corner of my eye. And I was very confused and panicky. Beside all that, whenever we entered break time, Atsu responds to favors friends ask her with a smile on her face. I haven't seen her showing an averse expression even once. During the last break even, she thoroughly explained to me the structure of Hibari High School building.
このひばり校は1階に1年生のクラス、2階に特別教室、3階に私たち2年生のクラスが並んでるんだよ。で、最上階の4階は3年生のクラス、さらにその上は屋上になってて、そこは基本的に一般生徒は立ち入り禁止になってるの。
In my school back in the city, we had free access to our rooftop, and I'd often take advantage of that to eat lunch up there. Guess I won't be able to do
そ
that
の代わ
here.
り、ひばり校は中庭が開放されてるんだよ。天気がいい日だと昼休みは生徒であふれ返ってるんだ。お弁当持ってきてる生徒だけじゃなくて、学食のメニューを中庭に運んで食べる生徒も多いの。
The Buddy High system is that the costs for cafeteria lunches are included in the school fee, so I figure the students bringing their own will be few and far between. I was actually kind of shit because I never ate at the goddamn cafeteria. Only every now and again. Had my breakfast, actually. No, I forgot what I said. Probably would have fucking saved some even. But in that case, I can see how the courtyard would get crowded regardless
りょ
of
うちゃんが
that.
いた都会に比べたら、ひばりが崎の空気は美味しいと思うし、食事中でも建物の中にこもってる手なんてないよ。
In the city, schools tend to be relatively small area-wise, so you'll even have some that don't even have a courtyard. So this news is pretty exciting to me,
で
honestly.
もまあ、私は学食で食べる方が多いんだけどね。中庭だとスカート汚れちゃうからね。
That Atsu rounds off her explanation while playfully sticking out her tongue at the end. Of course, Atsu, being how she is, she's the image of the class. Just about everyone is her friend. Still got the same impression of her that I did in elementary. And, well, there she goes again. Thus marks the end of the morning classes. Lunch break on my first day at school is, as expectedly, a pretty depressing prospect. Not having made any new friends yet, I'll likely be stuck having to walk around by myself in search of the school cafeteria, whose location I don't know. I am seriously glad the school cafeteria lunches are completely covered by the school fee. It means I won't have to worry about food with a gaping hole those 2 sideboards put in my wallet. Not just these breakfast and dinner costs, which are still a bit of a problem. Maybe forced to depend on Aunt Shino in that area for the time being, but I want to eventually find a part-time job to cover my and Jinami's expenses.
ねえ、ようちゃん
Atsu, who I suspected had already left for the cafeteria with some other classmates by now, calls out to me with a strangely excited
お
voice.
昼は学食だよね
Yep, that's the plan. Atsu bends forward towards me, almost as if taking that as her cue. Her face being so awfully close, I naturally bent backwards, in embarrassment. I suppose she had the habit of getting real close and up in their face when she was talking to someone. Though it isn't as though it is a constant thing. It is more like some certain things just inadvertently compel her to do it. But of course, that isn't something only limited to myself.
私もお昼は大抵学食
Excuse
こ
me!
の学校の生徒はほとんど学食だと思うんだけど
Avast free antivirus? Maybe don't throw me out of my goddamn fucking game, please? My PC webcam is susceptible to espionage. I don't fucking care! What the fuck they're gonna do with this shit? It's broadcasted to the world anyways! Like, hackers can deactivate the light on your webcams and secretly spy on you. My fucking webcam doesn't even point at me when I don't record. It points at the ceiling. Have fun trying to espionage anything from that. Ha ha! I have to go back into the fucking menu. Bastard! Well, we're paying for them either way, so it feels like a waste to bring something or buy from the school
一
store.
応食費払うのは希望制みたいなんだけどねでもいつの間にか払うのが普通になっちゃったんだって
Making lunch every day is probably rough for parents, and buying from the school store ends up being pretty costly. So there's probably been some pressure from the school in that regard, don't you think? Maybe, Atsu says with a smile. Oh. So you don't buy a meal ticket at a machine at the school's cafeteria?
うんそうだよお昼になるとカウンターのトレーにもう料理が載ってるんだちゃんとメニュー別にね
So everyone's just free to go up and get what they want? And I assume one of the reasons they quit the whole optional system is to prevent non-paying students from secretly snatching lunch.
そんな心配があるんなら最初からお金入れる券売機にすればいいのにね
I'm guessing the cafeteria is relatively small.
全員入りきれないから中庭で食べる生徒も多いくらいだし
We used the meal ticket system that would result in queues in front of the ticket machines, which in turn would ensure congestion in the already small cafeteria. Hence they went with the current system instead. Since they were preparing everything in advance, you also have the problem of food being left over and therefore wasted. But the costs of 1 or 2 meals don't add up to much of anything if you prepare meals for such a large number of students. The reason the price of a normal serving and a large serving at the restaurant doesn't differ that much is also because it's mainly not the cost of the ingredients that constitute the price. Instead, it's the technical skill that goes into preparing those dishes and...
ようちゃんやっぱりようちゃんだね
What do you mean?
昔と同じで頭でっかちのようちゃんだった
I must say, it is actually rather shocking to hear that.
学食の場所知らないよね
Yeah, I was about to go looking for it.
私が案内してあげるよ
Having said that, Atsu gets up from her seat.
小雨ちゃん今日はようちゃんも一緒でいいよね構いませんよお昼を一緒して親睦を深めた後に行う麻生さんの作戦も黙認しておきますね
What plan?
皆星お前まさか
そうじゃないってば
私はようちゃんと過去の思い出を語り合いたいから誘っただけだ
じゃあ俺が一緒でも問題ないよな。
もん。
露骨に嫌そうな顔すんなよ。
だってアスカくん、私のこと邪魔しそうだし。
いいカモが向こうから飛び込んできたんだ。話し飼いにしておくのはもったいないだろうが。
やっぱり邪魔するんだ。ようちゃん捕らえるのは私だからね。
弱い犬ほどよく吠えるんだよ。それはカモ狩りの犬も同じってことだ。
I'm kind of lost here.
焦らなくても、カモさんにもいずれ理解できますよ。
Doesn't that kind of not matter if it happens after I've been roasted and devoured? In any case, it looks like I've at least escaped the fate of eating lunch by myself on the first day. Shit, that's full here. Also, it seems about as large as my old fucking cafeteria. Actually, maybe a small bit smaller. Yeah, actually, it's tough to... Actually, no, I would say that it's about the same. If you take into account that there's probably more behind us right now. Funny little thing, at my school cafeteria, you know how I talked about how we often played cards. And, something that happened once is that, someone got a perfect game. Basically, in the scare game, you can basically say... you basically say what kind of game you want to play. Because it's basically kind of set, I guess you could say. Like, you basically you get the cards and you say the set. You can either say that you want an ace set, so you play with the person who has the ace of the color that you say. So, for example, like I've got Asao, so you're now with the ace, with the grass ace, since the colors aren't like spade and stuff like that. It's grass. It's hard to say it. Gras, Eichel, Schellen, und Herz. Just accept those. So you say like, oh yeah, I want to play with the blue ace, with the blaue. Basically, that means that you want to play with the grass ace. Why it's called the blue one, I don't fucking know. It's old speak. But yeah, basically you then start to play with this together with this player, but only the player with the ace knows. So what you do then is you try to like you put out the cards and like everyone puts out the cards, starting from the person who actually like called the game and got it. You like throw out card. For example, like I'm throwing a 7, which is the lowest, and it's like a grass 7. Like if I have only one grass, so it's not risky for me to throw this out, since every card has a point value attached to it. At least 5 of them do. That being the 10 has a point value of 10, the ace has a point value of 11, the king has a point value of 4, then the Ober has a point value of 3, and the Unter has a point value of 2. And basically throw them out, and you try to get as many points as possible. If you say you want to play on an ace, you basically say the ace of the color, and then you play with the person who has that color. If you say you want to play a solo game, you basically can say either you just want to play a standard solo, so you basically play alone against the other 3. And if you want to say like, okay, I want to like play a colored solo game, then you can say like, I want to play a grass solo game. Because normally, the trumps in the set are all the heart cards. And then above the heart cards are the Unter. Above the Unter are the Ober. So if you play solo on grass, instead of heart being the trump, grass is now the trump. And if you say I want to play like a Vince, which is a solo game, but the Ober are no longer trumps. So the highest cards are now all the Unters. And you like play that, win. You also, again, against everyone else, and then there's also the Gaia, which a lot of people don't play with, since they say just if you want to play a Gaia, just play a solo, which is retarded, because you could have all 4 Oba in your hand, and a fucking grass 7 or something like that, and suddenly it's fucking retarded to play a solo. Or something like that, basically. But yeah, and basically this person had a perfect hand, where you can say that, that you can basically bet on the fact that you'll win without the other team getting a single point. And he fucking did it. So the person running the cafeteria noticed them, like, partying, went out of the kitchen like, hey, what the fuck's up? And they explained it to him, like, okay, give me that hand that you got this victory with. And he just, like, fucking framed the hand and put it up in the cafeteria. Anyways, I've talked too much already. Compared to my previous school, Buddy's highest cafeteria is pretty small. There aren't many seats either. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go to the toilet real quick. Be right back. Alright, so I'm back. And I actually, right here, have a set of Barbarian playing cards. So I can explain this better now. Yes, I've gone insane. So basically, this here is Sheln. This here is grass, which, you know, I don't know why it's called grass instead of blood. Because that's a leaf, not grass. It is of course is Herz. You can guess what that fucking means. And this here is Eichel. It's an acorn. And basically, this would be the grass ace. So if you play on that, it's that one. And oh, there's actually 3 of them already together. That's lovely. And there's the last one. Basically, these 3 are the Unter. These 3 are 4 of the best cards in all of Schafkopfen. And these are the Ober. They are the actually best cards in Schafkopfen. However, at the same time, everyone kinda doesn't like them, because there's always the risk of someone being an asshole and playing events. So only these count now. And basically, even among these, there's a rank order. That rank order being from front to back, being strong to weak. So basically, this beats this, beats this, beats this. Same order is for the Unter. This beats this, beats this, beats this. And after that, come all the hearts. So, next best after that would be the ace, or Tsao as we say. Then comes the 10, then the king, then the 9, then the 8, then the 7, and so on. As for anything else, if I, for example, were to play a grass 7 and the opponent doesn't have anything he can lay down, as well as no like trumps or anything like that. For example, it's the last card, it's the last turn, and I'm the person who gets to throw out their card first. I throw out a grass 7. Now, everyone who has a grass needs to throw on a grass. But if you can't, if you don't have a grass, if you were to, for example, have a heart ace, you of course would throw this out because that would immediately beat it. And everyone else has a grass, and painfully enough, they each only have one of them. So they have to suddenly throw out a grass ace and a grass 10. So suddenly, with this hand alone, they have 31 points. And basically, these all give 2 points, these all give 3 points. Then this one gives 4. This one gives 10. And this one gives 11. This type of card. And like that, you actively try to gain stuff. But for example, if I were to like play that Grass 7 and the opponent doesn't have a trump anymore and only has like an oak, like an Eichel King or something like that, he has to throw those out. But it's because it's not the same color, it can't beat it. Like even if the card is technically higher, if it's not of the same color and isn't a trump at the same time, you can't beat it, and therefore you can't grab it. Reason why I'm explaining all this, I missed the game. I'll play it again sometime, but I don't meet up with people that can actually play it. Frustration. Frustration Nation! Hold on, please. I don't feel like going out of my way to turn off the webcam right now. There we go. Anyways. I suppose there are two reasons that explain the open atmosphere it has despite of that. One being the counter where the trays are placed is pretty wide. There are no lines. The second being that you're free to take your lunch out to the cafeteria and eat elsewhere.
一応先に席取っておいた方がいいかな。私、座って待っていますね。了解。メニューはいつもの？はい。サンドイッチセットで。ようちゃんも座って待ってていいよ。何がいい？
メニューは和洋中何でもござれだ。嫌いなものは？
With the exception of mayonnaise, literally nothing really.
ようちゃん、マヨネーズ嫌いなんだ。
Family-related reasons.
適当でいいなら運びやすい丼物にするけど。
Actually, on second thought, I'll just go get some myself.
小ヶ坂さんはある意味ゲストなんですから、席に座ってのんびり構えていて結構ですよ。
In other words, because I'm getting roasted and eaten afterwards.
小雨ちゃん一人で4人分も席取ってると他の生徒に睨まれちゃうし。
小ヶ坂、メニューは？
Get me a chicken and egg rice bowl then.
なじゃ。
小ヶ坂さん、私たちはお茶を持ってきましょう。席取りをするときはその席にお茶を置いておくのがこの学食のルールなんですよ。
As the other two head towards the counter, Kozama and I instead go to get tea for all four of us and then sit down.
なんだか慣れてらっしゃいますね。
As I'm leisurely sipping on my tea, Kozama suddenly mentions that. What do you mean?
ひばり校の生徒として、ひばりヶ崎の住民として、もう馴染んでいるという意味です。
You think so?
はい。都会からの転入生と聞いていたので、私たちはどこか雰囲気が違うんじゃないかと思っていたんです。ひばりヶ崎は小ヶ坂さんの住んでいた町に比べるとずっと田舎でしょ？
True. But I don't mean that in a bad
いい
sense.
んですよ。住民の皆さんだって思っていることなんですから。
Kozama puts a hand on her cheek and forms her face into a wry
この
smile.
町は観光客の方々は物珍しがって喜ぶのでしょうけど、小ヶ坂さんのように引っ越してきた方には不便な町だと思いますから。
Only a handful of buses and trains run throughout Hibarigasaki. Only a handful of buses and trains run throughout Hibarigasaki. There are neither department stores nor thrift shops anywhere, and there's none of the usual recreational places like karaoke bars or arcades either.
だから私たちとはなかなか打ち解けてくれないんじゃないかと心配だったんです。
Mean because transfer students come to hate living here? Kozumi answers with a mild nod. No need to worry about that, honestly.
小ヶ坂さんはもともとひばりが崎出身ですものね。
Well, even besides that, I simply love this town. Kosame makes a surprised expression. Right, there's something I want to ask you. Change subjects before she has the opportunity to inquire about why I love the town. The other day, there was that fight going on in front of the school gate, right? You know, Oxo and that other girl.
姉さんですね。名前は久垣小桃。私の双子の姉なんです。
Which explains similarity in the looks. How'd that fight turn out in the end?
一時的な停戦には成功しましたよ。
So they haven't settled their differences yet?
麻生さんと姉さんは会うたびに何かといがみ合いますから、同じクラスじゃなくてほっとしているんです。
So how come they're so tooth and nail with each
主
other?
にテンクルが原因ですね。
What's
お
that?
そらく食事中にその謎は解けますよ。
お待たせ。こちらサンドイッチセットと親子丼になります。
It's still really macabre that chicken and an egg rice bowl is called oyakodon. Since that's literally just like, ah yes, mother and her child. Like, that naming sense is highly inappropriate, I feel. Asa returns with with trays in her hands, conducting herself in a manner reminiscent of how she served me and Jinimi and her maid died the other day.
それじゃ冷めないうちに食べちまうか。
Atsuo sits down next to Kosama and Asuka next to me. Following that, we wish each other bon appetit before digging
食
in.
べ終わったらどっちがこの無垢なカモを生け取るか正々堂々と勝負。
ようちゃん、天体観測に興味ない？
お前早えよ。
ご飯粒飛ばさないで。
抜け駆けすんな。まずは順序ってもんがあるだろう。
順序も何もそっちが勝手についてきただけじゃない。
転入生にはどの部活にも平等に権利があるだろうが。
私たちテンクルはそんなこと言ってられない状況なんだよ。
勧誘となると今度は麻生さんとアスカさんがいがみ合うことになるんですね。
Faced with the noise from the other two, Kosama is leisurely taking a bite out of one of her sandwiches.
なあ小笠か、お前趣味は？
All of a sudden, Asuka puts his arm on my shoulder like we are the best of
特技は
bros.
なんだ？よく読む雑誌は？よく聞く音楽は？好きなテレビ番組は？徹夜は平気か？嫁は聞く方か？フーファイター事件をどう思う？アブダクションされたことは？
Why'd I even start?
その質問嵐のどこが順序を守ってるんだよ。
生誕137億年と呼ばれるこの広大な宇宙には地球人以外の知的生命体が息づいているとは思わないか？
Okay. Cult Club, or I guess UE Club, whatever it's fucking called.
137億年がなんだよ。こっちは137億光年の先にある星座のロマンに思いを馳せられるんだよ。
Highly doubt there are stars located at the ends of the universe.
星座なんか所詮人が作った遊びだろう。なあ小笠か、こっちは人類の英知も及ばない神秘をこの目にできるかもしれないんだぜ。
ようちゃんは私が先にツバつけたんだよ。アスカ君は一人で UFO 追いかけてたらいいじゃない。
うちのオカケンは常に有能な人材を探してるんでね。
そのオカケンって物質もないしテンクルよりも弱小のくせに。
俺がいる場所、そこがオカケンなのさ。
要するに部員はアスカ君しかいないってことじゃない。
Being completely lost, I choose to ask Kosama, still silently pecking at her sandwiches about what is going on. What are those two even on about?
部活勧誘の話ですよ。
ようちゃん、私たちのテンクルに入るよね。
いや、俺のオカケンだよな。
Okay, that makes things clear. At the very least, I get the gist of what's going on. Being a transfer student, I haven't joined any club or circle yet. As such, the two of them are trying to use that opportunity and win me over. That also explains why I got invited for lunch. It's pretty obvious that the cult circle is researching paranormal jargon and all that, but what's the astro circle?
天体観測愛好サークル、略してテンクルだよ。
So basically, something like an astronomy club.
部員が少なくて部活として認知されない弱小サークルってことな。
もっと弱小のオカケンに言われたくないよ。
小ヶ坂さんはどこか入りたい部活はもう決めているんですか？
Before that, a question. Is joining a club or circle compulsory at the school? I'm essentially gunning out to not join one. That would be too much with my part-time job after school. Which reminds me, I have to confirm whether we're allowed to have jobs later as well. Besides, there's one more other thing I have to do after school. I mean, you literally are sitting next to someone who has a part-time job at their parents' restaurant. Something, I guess it could mean that they are just keeping it secret, I guess. But she's also at a circle while doing that, so obviously you get the time. Something I need to do as well as soon as possible, in order to recall the lookout girl's name again.
部活の所属は必ずというわけじゃないですけど、ほとんどの生徒は入っていますよ。
この町田舎だろ。帰宅部になったって遊ぶ場所なんかねえから、暇するよりは部活するんだよ。
塾に通うために帰宅部になる人もいるけど、それも少数派なんだよね。
ひばり校は進学校というわけじゃありませんからね。
だから小笠か、俺と一緒に UFO シグナルを受信して宇宙人とコンタクトを図ろうぜ。
そんな危ない人になっちゃダメだよ、ようちゃん。
テンクルなんか入ったら日がなトランプ三昧になるのがオチだ。こっちの方がずーっと健康的だぜ。
オカルトに比べたらトランプの方がずっと健康的だよ。
私には50歩100歩に聞こえますよ。
スクリーンに天体図映して眺めるの飽きたって言ってトランプ持ってきたの小雨ちゃんなのに。
今度は花札にしますか？
それこそ50歩100歩だよ。
I decide my lunch is probably completely cold by now. What to do? As for those two, I can't honestly say I'm interested in joining any club or circles, but I'm considering how to turn them down while mixing up the bowls
お願
topping.
いようちゃん。テンクル入ってくれたら正真正銘の部活として発足する野望に一歩近づくんだよ。
俺のおかげにそんな姑息な意図はねえぞ。ただ純粋に宇宙人と人差し指を突き合わせて自転車で空を飛ぶために活動するんだからな。
だから危ない人だよそれ。
俺が見たところ小笠坂はアブダクションされトランスミッションを埋め込まれた過去を持っている。すでにオカ研に入ることを運命づけられているのさ。
そんなバカな運命あるわけないよ。だってようちゃんはテンクルにぴったりな転入生だもん。
Sorry guys, but
ようちゃんはうちの店に来た時に言ったもん。
in response to Asu's passionately talking in a loud voice, some of the other students that are chatting along with their friends while eating their lunches turn
ようちゃ
our
んは
way.
ヘルメスの盾事がこと座の神話だって分かってくれたもん。
Asu has a voice that carries well even amidst the noise levels of places like this. And the words that voice is carrying permeate right into my heart. What kind of stuff does the actual circle do exactly? A weensy bit of interest has found me. I'd like to do real stargazing at least once. It isn't like I've always had a thing for the stars. I only grew knowledgeable about them for the lookout girl. That was all. I merely read through a ton of illustrated astronomy encyclopedias in order to learn more about them. Of course, that being the case, I've not once done proper stargazing using a telescope before. Also, a surprised expression turns over to joy.
テンクルはね、望遠鏡で夜空の星を眺めるんだよ。それで写真を撮るんだよ。
What else?
それだけだよ。それだけでもすごいんだよ。星ってね、すっごいんだから。
Probably not knowing how to express it with words, Asu is trying to explain to me the magnificence of stargazing by gesturing. Seeing her that frantic about it comes across to me as a tad bit adorable.
なんだよ小笠坂、俺を裏切るのか。
I wasn't even slightly interested in joining your cult circle from the get-go.
俺と一緒にヘブンズドアを開く儀式で宇宙意志とチャネリングとシャレ込もうぜ。
Only lunatics would do that.
ひでえ。
ではテンクルに入っていただけるんですか？
小雨ちゃんも部員なんだよ。ようちゃんが入ってくれたらこれで5人目。
Well, about that, could I put my answer on hold? Asu and Kosame blink in surprise. I need to go look for a part-time job after school, and besides that, there's also some other business I need to take care
前
of.
も言ってたよね。金欠だって。
So, quick question. Does the school allow students to hold part-time jobs?
先生に理由を話して許可をもらえば平気ですよ。麻生さんもそうしていますし。私のは家事手伝い扱いだけどね。
なんでまたバイトなんかするんだ？
Well, reasons.
カメラ買いたいんならデジタルカメラはやめとけ。 UFO や心霊写真を撮るならやっぱりフィルム式をおすすめするぜ。
そんなのより断然望遠鏡の方がいいよ。値段が高いと思ったら天体観測用の双眼鏡も安くておすすめだよ。
Well, I'm not looking for a job so I can save up money for something big.
テンクルはバイトしながらでも活動できるよ。だって天体観測は夜になってからが本番だからね。麻生さん、これ以上は小ヶ坂さんを困らせるだけだと思いますよ。
A cheerful smile on her face, Kosama turns my way.
小ヶ坂さん、もしバイトの時間に余裕があったら一度テンクルの見学に来てくださいね。いつでも待ってるよ、ようちゃん。
With a wry smile on my face, answer got it. After that, we finally get to eating. It's cold, but it still tastes pretty decent. As soon as the bell signaling the end of the school day comes, I grab my textbooks and stuff to my book bag and stand up.
ようちゃん、これからバイトの許可もらいに行くの？
That's the plan, so who exactly do I have to talk to about that?
担任の先生で大丈夫だよ。教務室の場所わかる？
Nah, I've been there a few times already.
そっか。バイトどんなの探すの？
I haven't gotten to that point yet, honestly.
よかったらうちの喫茶店でやらない？スタッフがお父さんと私だけだから忙しくてさ、メイド喫茶じゃないから男性スタッフも募集中だよ。
Yeah, I'll give it a thought.
テンクルの見学と一緒に待ってるね。
We briefly wave at each other, then I head towards the hallway. She's like, once out of the classroom, she's like, yes, I will integrate him into my daily life.
ちなみにおかけんも男性スタッフ募集中だぜ。
I will smash your head against the table. I feel like I won't be paid in the currency valid on this planet, so I'll pass on that offer. I received permission fairly easily. Since my homeroom teacher is aware of my family situation, he immediately consents when I say that it is to cover living expenses. Like, this dude is like he just walks up to his homeroom teacher. I would like to request permission to start a part-time job. Don't say another word. Here's the permission. What? You do well out there, my boy. Just overly emotional. And that I'm thankful for. However, when he encourages me with you keep your head up, and I know you'll be just fine, makes me kind of awkward, or rather slightly irritated, because it strikes me as meddlesome. I don't really consider my own situation as deserving of pity. With that out of the way, next I go up to the 4th floor where the 3rd year's classrooms are. There are 3 items on the list of things I need to take care of here before I go home. The first item was getting permission for having a part-time job. Since I had already completed that, I then move on to the second item, which is what brought me to this floor. This is my first order of business in searching for the lookout girl whose name I've lost, asking around for information. I scan the faces of the 3rd years as I pass by them in the hallway. Sneak a peek into the individual classroom and take a peek at the faces of the girls currently indulging in that feeling of liberation brought about by the end of the school day. I've forgotten the name of the lookout girl, but I still have her appearance to go off of, luckily enough. Inside my memories, she's obviously still a child, but even if she has matured and changed since then, common facial features should exist. If any part of her appearance has changed through to her now, there's no way I'd mistake it. Has carried through to her now, there's no way I'd mistake it. That's why I decided to go around and take a look at the 3rd year girls. The lookout girl was from Hibarigasaki, since we used to play together at the lookout. That was a fact I was certain of. Furthermore, she was older than me. She never told me her actual age, but judging by how she acted back then, I could safely assume so. If I took those 2 bits of information into account, there was a chance that she was a student at Hibari High, or is right now. She's She's a student here right now, that there's only one grade she could be in. If she never attended Yubari High in the first place, or if she did, but already graduated, that would make this a fruitless endeavor. And so I couldn't bring myself to discard the possibility as long as something was there. If I gave up, I'd only be haunted by regret. That is why my past self is telling me with a... That is what my past self is telling me with a sour look. A considerable amount of questioning gazes are piercing my way. It's only natural, considering a student who I've never seen before is wandering around and even going as far as to suspiciously peek at the classrooms only to leave again right away. It's a terribly uncomfortable feeling. My desire to find her is starting to increase by the minute, and I can't spot her anywhere. I've gone and checked all third-year classrooms, but in the end, there are no students that resemble her. There's also a chance she already went home. School is over, so the possibility certainly exists. It'd be my best interest to shoot for lunchtime instead next time. But still, I wouldn't have guaranteed me getting a look at all enrolled females' third years. If I, for instance, went and peeked at all third-year classrooms during class, I suppose I'd be able to see all of them. But if I actually went and did something like that, I'd be labeled a sketchy guy and would likely earn myself a seat at the guidance counselor's room afterwards. Guess I'll have to just resume my search tomorrow. Besides, there's another method I could use to look for her. I choose to withdraw for today and instead head towards the library next. All of the specialized rooms should be located on the second floor. As I'm making my way towards the stairway, I spot another female student. I didn't see her when I was looking around just now. Maybe she was on the lower floor and just got back up here. Most likely she's a third year by the looks of it. However, she's undoubtedly not the lookout girl. My memory clearly informs me so.
3年のクラスに何か用か?
She speaks out to me as we are passing
君
each
は
other.
2年の転入生だろ? 君のクラスがある階は3階だ。迷子にでもなったのか?
No, that's not the case. At that point, her toneless, gender-neutral voice prompts my memories. This is my first time
では
hearing it.
何の用だ?
There's unreserved, aggressive demeanor also. I never knew you were a student here.
そうだ。やっと思い出してくれたのか?
Seems like she'd recognized me from the offset. I don't know her name, but she's the girl I encountered that one time in front of the fence on my way to the
それ
lookout.
で君はどうして3年のクラスを見て回っていたんだ?
Shit, she saw that. But how? I didn't see her anywhere while I was going around peeking in the classroom.
私の質問に答えてくれないのか?
Let me ask you one thing before that. A reply to her question. How do you happen to know that I'm a transfer student?
君がこの前自分で言っていたじゃないか。このひばりが崎に引っ越してきたばかりだと、転入生が今日2人、ひばり校にやってくることも、教師から事前に連絡があったんだ。次は、そろそろ私の質問に答えてもらおうか。
Well, I'm not really obligated to answer it, am I?
あると思うが。
Quid pro quo isn't too popular these days, you know.
むしろ日本人としての礼節じゃないのか?
Aren't you being a little, snappish towards
そ
me?
れは君の方だと思うが。
I'm in a hurry, so I'll be going now. For whatever reason, I just can't deal with this person. In particular, that scrutinizing gaze she keeps throwing at me like she's judging my soul.
急用があるのであれば、仕方がないか。
I turn my back towards her after she reacts strangely understandingly in a low voice and goes down the staircase. Since I'm looking for the library by carefully paying attention to the plates sticking out above the doors, I immediately find it. The interior is pretty similar to the library at my old school. The libraries of just about any school look fundamentally the same. I suppose the checkout system should pretty much be the same too. Or maybe not, using handwritten borrower's cards. In the city, they use the barcode system to register who has which book checked out. But I suppose handwritten cards do actually fit this town a lot more.
あれ？小笠原さん。
The girl sitting at the reception desk raises her head. It turns out to be Kosame. You're in the library committee, Kosame?
そうですよ。今日は当番の日だったんです。
She plays the borrower's cards she had apparently been sorting to the side of the desk. Sorry, Don't mind me if you have stuff to
気
do.
にしないでください。図書室で本を借りる生徒はあまりいませんから、
Bitch, 2 cars are
いつ
trying
も
to
暇
escape.
を持て余しているんです。
I don't know why I'm suddenly... I don't know why I'm suddenly shuffling these cards. I can always spot any students in the library. Seems like there aren't many students who care to study. Another thing that is different from my last
委
school.
員会は部活と違って所属したがる生徒はあまりいませんので、ある意味こちらも勧誘の危険がありますよ。
Do committees also hunt for new members here?
特に生徒会が行っていますね。生徒会役員の方は立候補だけじゃなく推薦で選ばれることも多いですから。
Well, I highly doubt anyone would recommend a transfer
小ヶ
student.
坂さんは前の学校では委員会に所属していたんですか？
No, I
部
wasn't.
活は
Never joined any.
やっぱり
What's
小
that?
ヶ坂さんは塾に通っていたんじゃないですか？
No, not really. Of course, I'm a tilts her head and puzzlement.
てっきりそうだと思っていたんですけど、
What gave her that idea?
私小ヶ坂さんの転入試験の点数を知っているんですよ。
Huh?
生徒会役員の姉さんから聞いたんですけどね。生徒会には生徒の成績を把握する義務があるそうですから。
Seems like the student council here, anybody high has quite a lot of power. Gotta say, I don't really want to get involved with them much. Did you tell my score to anyone else, Kosame?
言ってませんよ。生徒会役員の方も公表することはありませんから、一般生徒には知られていないと思います。小ヶ坂さんの成績はとても優秀だって。
So that was why she reckoned I used to attend cram school instead of having been a committee or club member, huh? Could I ask you to keep quiet about that, please?
それはいいですけど、テストが実施されれば皆さん知ることになると思いますよ。
So they put the names of all the students who score well here?
中間と期末のテストは各教科ごとにトップ10の方まで並びますよ。
Look up at the ceiling with an expression of dismay.
どうしたんですか？
Nothing! You just, well, triggered a bit of a traumatic experience.
そうなんですか？テストの成績が優秀なのは誇るべきことだと思いますよ。
I was talking about something that happened after we'd moved away from Ibarigasaki, after I'd just transferred to my new school. Being the egghead I was, I got the top score in every subject in my grade level. What was crucial here was these exams took place before my new guy status had worn off in class, which in turn
小
isolated
ヶ
me.
坂さんの転入試験の結果は学年総大に選ばれてもおかしくない成績だったそうですよ。ですから姉さんは小ヶ坂さんを生徒会にスカウトする気満々みたいです。気をつけてくださいね。
He's just sitting there like, shit! Give me a break. I don't want my trauma to flare up again.
困ったことになったらいつでもご相談くださいね。私は姉さんの味方ですけど、小ヶ坂さんの味方でもありますから。
I mean, you say that you're their ally. You say you're Asuho's ally. You're your sister's ally. You're his ally. But in reality, you're just kind of acting like Switzerland, aren't you? That's still so funny. Like, you know, Russia fucked up in the current world situation because Switzerland spoke out against them. You know, the eternally neutral fucking country. Like, you know you fucked up when they decided to take sides. If all students were like Wilson back in the past, I might have fit into my class without having to go through any
小
hardships.
ヶ坂さん、今日はどんなご用で図書室にいらしたんですか？
Oh yeah, right. There's some books I'm looking
ど
for.
んな本ですか？
There are two kinds of books I need, and both are kinds are rather specific ones at
図書
that.
委員の私にかかれば、学校が所蔵している本なら、どんなものでもお見せすることができますよ。
Alright, then I'll take you up on that. That's then from course about the third item on my agenda. Could you show me Hibari High's yearbook, as well as any books you got on memory loss? Yearbook, in order to confirm whether the lookout girl is a Hibari High graduate. The books relating to memory loss, in order to recover her name. I want to do everything in my power to see to it that our reunion comes true.
ひばり校は今年で創立55年目となります。そのため卒業アルバムは全部で52冊となっています。数字が合わないのは1期生が卒業するまでは卒業生がいなかったためですね。ひばり校は開校した当時木造校舎だったそうです。体育館もプールも学食もなく、この図書室をはじめとする特別教室もありませんでした。また通学路の夢見坂もほとんど整備されておらず、通いやすい学校とはお世辞にも言えなかったようです。それでもこの場所にひばり校が建てられたのは様々な理由があったそうなのですが、理由の一つに高台であることが挙げられます。ひばり校は創立1年目にしてなんと天文部が存在していたんですよ。
At that point, she then pauses briefly and gives an embarrassed
そん
smile.
な伝統的な部が今ではテンクルと名を変えて、しかも部ではなくサークルになっていますけどね。このように天文部は衰退したのかもしれませんが、他のところは市と学校が協力し工事を重ねて今のひばり校と夢見坂に変えていったそうです。偉大な先人に感謝ですが、広大の天文部のためにせめて天体望遠鏡くらいは残してほしかったですね。
That Kosame finishes her little lecture on the school's history. The Astra Circle is a circle for stargazing, right? And you're saying they don't even have the telescope?
はい、どうも古くなって廃棄処分されたそうです。私が入学した時にはもうありませんでしたよ。
How do you even do any activities?
一応1台はあるんです。ですけどそれは麻生さんの私物なんですよ。20万円もする天体望遠鏡を喫茶店のお手伝い代を貯めて買ったって言ってました。
That's pretty impressive.
それでも安い方なんだそうですよ。麻生さんはもっといい天体望遠鏡が欲しいみたいです。
Also, must really love stargazing.
それよりこの卒業アルバムをどうするんですか？
Well, I want to look through them, of course. The yearbooks lined up next to each other on the library's long table offer a magnificent sight. That alone quite literally speaks of how far the school
ど
goes
うして
back.
卒業アルバムを見たいのか、理由を尋ねてもよろしいですか？
If possible, I'd like you to refrain from
わかり
that.
ました。それでは私、小ヶ坂さんがお探しのもう一つの本を探してきますね。
You could just say I'm looking for someone. I'm really thankful for Kosume's consideration. She isn't sure whether this library has any books concerning memory loss, but Kosume heads towards the shelves further in the back. Leaving her to work on that, I now turn towards the 52 yearbooks on the table. I open one of them and find every single graduate listed as also accompanied by a portrait, just as I'd hoped. This means I can properly investigate. What I need to do was to find her face on one of them. If I succeeded in that, I'd also find her name listed alongside it, meaning I could regain what I've lost. Since the yearbook even contained the students' addresses on top of all that, I'd also be able to go see her. Let's do this. If you like, just giving this a readily available yearbook to people and having the fucking addresses listed is not a good idea. I feel like that's a bit of an invasion of privacy. Fire myself up. It isn't like I could actually have to check all 52 of them. She may be older than me, but I'd say it is downright inconceivable that we are 10 years or more apart in age. In other words, by excluding the ones of years she can't possibly have graduated in, I'll end up with less than 10 that I need to examine. So I probably need her to get all of them from me. Guess I probably didn't need her to get all of them from me. I apologize to Kosuma inside my mind. Then I then make myself comfortable in the chair and begin to make my way through the yearbooks in chronological order, starting with the most recent one.
Kogasaka さん、どうですか？もう夕方になってしまいましたけど、まだ終わりませんか？そろそろ図書室を閉める時間ですけど。
Closed the last yearbook after finishing looking through it and slumped across the table like a corpse. Unable to find her photo as I looked in yearbook after yearbook. Before I knew it, I'd ended up checking all 52 of them. If I'd found a photo among the monochrome pictures from the earlier years, I think dread would have outweighed happiness by a good margin. Sorry for staying this long, Kosama.
そんなの気にしないでください。それより、調べ物の方はうまくいきましたか？
Not really, unfortunately. Kosama also reveals a regretful
貸し
expression.
出しもできますけど、どうします？
Nah, it's fine. They didn't have what I was looking for. The lookout girl isn't a Hibari High graduate, which means either she is a currently enrolled student, or she is going to a different high school. But Hibarigasaki has other high schools besides Hibari High. I don't know how many there are exactly, but in the event that she isn't a student here, I have no other choice but to investigate the other schools as well. The question being, how exactly do I go about that?
では、こちらの本はどうしますか？
Kosama has one hardback and two paperbacks in her
記
hands.
憶喪失ということで、医療関係の棚を探してみたんですけど、この3冊くらいしか見つからなくて。
Oh, Jesus Christ, that's bloody. That's more than enough, thanks. Kosama replies with an amiable smile and starts getting ready to make a borrower's card. Kosama, you've been a really great
お
help.
礼には及びません。図書委員としてお役に立てて、私も嬉しかったですから。
The letters she writes, Kosakayo, with on the card are tender and graceful. Books I borrowed at the library in my book bag. The books I've borrowed at the library in my book bag, I decided to swing by the lookout on my way home. I'll end up waiting there, I suppose, for the lookout girl to show up, as well as a certain other girl. Grim Reaper girl named Mare. I have a barrage of questions I want to ask her. Have you really stolen away the lookout girl's name from me? Have you reaped her name that you labeled my nightmare with that massive scythe? What even is that scythe to begin with? Why is it that even after having that thing pierced through my chest, I received no injury? What was that peculiar sensation I felt when it went through me? Where did that gentle, bittersweet feeling I experienced come from? Why were you crying when you did that to me? There are an innumerable amount of mysteries surrounding the... For starters, there's that outfit. Well, I suppose since she was calling herself Grim Reaper, I can just write that one off as her Grim Reaper attire and be done with it. Then there's that massive scythe of hers, which is supposedly another thing she has because of her identity as a Grim Reaper that she used to reap nightmares instead of souls. Besides those two things, there's the fact that she seems to know me from my childhood days and has been waiting for me at the lookout in order to reap my nightmare. However, the reality is that I've never come across a girl with such a bizarre scythe in my childhood. To begin with, if you just stop and think about it, Mare would have to have been a baby, or at least, or at the very most a kindergartner at the time. But Mare herself denies that. If you after experiencing something like someone piercing you in the fucking chest with a scythe, and you instead of receiving an injury just for getting a name, should be enough to tell you that maybe she can just be ageless. I feel that's like not that big of a stretch. Her entire identity is one huge question mark to me. Of her parents or home, and that's the cherry on top. Supposedly, she's been a Grim Reaper since birth and doesn't age. What is with that clearly non-human setting? Well, admittedly, since she's a Grim Reaper, I guess that may technically cause her to fall under the supernatural being category. Oscar would likely jump for joy if he heard about that, but as for me, I could only see it as a well-crafted fibbing to hide something. And while it might be something minor, there's another mystery that has non-human elements to it. The way she keeps disappearing right before my very eyes. It happened that night. Right after Mayor reaped my nightmare, she vanished into thin air. It happened abruptly, without even time for me to process what had happened. Maybe it was because I was reigned by severe confusion at the time. I just missed her turning back towards me, and then normally walking down the hill. At the time, I was in a mental state of excessive agitation. I was unable to think straight, and my brain couldn't process visual information properly either. However, thinking back with a sound mind, I hadn't seen her leave the lookout despite having met her there several times. One second she's there, the next she's gone. This isn't the first time the oddity of that has bugged me. The stars in the sky become obstructed by clouds, my vision darkens momentarily, as if clouded in mist. And Mare all of a sudden disappears. However, before I simply just figured it was an optical illusion. The human eye has difficulty switching between bright and dark. Unable to keep up with abrupt changes in the field of vision, information processing therefore experiences a delay. Hence I simply reasoned that because my vision darkened abruptly right at the time Mare was passing me to leave the lookout, I mistook it as her having disappeared. And during that night, where scythe was still sunk into my chest, it looks like it disappeared momentarily along with the scythe. Whether that was an optical illusion due to my agitated mental state, or whether it was genuine reality, that was another thing I had to meet her for in order to clarify. I need to know whether Mare really did disappear from my sight through some supernatural phenomenon that defies the laws of nature. It may be awfully hard to accept. If she really is a Grim Reaper, not a human being, I'll also be able to believe that she is the one who reaped the Lookout Girl's name. Failing that, it wasn't her doing it. After all, it would mean the responsibility would fall on my own shoulders for forgetting the Lookout Girl's name. It would mean I, through my own actions, clouded over my precious memories of her. Even just over-glorifying those memories. It would appear I have a tendency to treat the Lookout Girl as some sort of treasure. When sunset comes around, the sky that was clear beforehand starts to cloud over. The stars proceed to exit my vision. The clouds completely block out the light beyond them. Mary said she'd only come here on clear nights. So does that mean she won't come today? Probably not. Since I don't have any sort of contact information for the Lookout Girl, I have nothing with Mare either. I should have asked her. Because it's just my passiveness coming back to bite me again, huh? Do I have to admit, I kind of feel like she dodged the question, saying something like Grim Reapers don't have contact information, even if I did ask her. I kept sitting in the lawn and grown cold, gaze up at the melancholic night sky veiled in clouds until a fair while past nightfall. The moment I return home, giving up on being able to see Mare in the end, Jinami rushes over to me at a speed that would put a debtor-chasing bill collectors to shame.
どうしたの？何があったの？なんでこんな遅い時間に帰宅なの？もしかして学校でいじめられたの？クラスに馴染めず昇進したの？そんな時こそちなみの愛情が。
Fed up with her already, I placed my ice-cold hands on her forehead.
お兄
You're not glad to be able to go out? You're not glad to be able to go out like that? They say that for us humans, no death is more beautiful than dying through freezing.
何その満足そうなとびきり笑顔。
ほらあらようちゃん、今日は遅かったわね。
Yeah, I had some stuff I needed to do. Did you guys already have
ま
dinner?
だよ。ダイニングに用意してあるから早く食べましょう。
Sorry, you could just eat without me when I get late again from now on.
そんなのダメだよお兄ちゃん。家族はみんな揃って晩ご飯が基本なんだから。
Maybe I should actually put my fucking headset back on before I read. I gently put my head on Chinami's head. My hand on Chinami's head. Yeah, you're right. Sorry about today, Chinami.
全然へっちゃらだよ。だって今日のちなみは超ご機嫌だからね。
ちなみちゃん、新しいクラスで早速お友達ができたんですって。
そうなんだよお兄ちゃん。ちなみ新しいクラスで葵ちゃんとまた会えたんだよ。葵ちゃんとクラスメートになれたんだよ。
That poor girl.
なんでちなみが期待した反応と真逆なの？
Well, good for you if you were able to become friends with her, I guess.
葵ちゃんはちなみの親友第1号に認定したよ。葵ちゃんも笑顔で喜んでくれたんだよ。
Imagine that girl with a smile as hard enough as this. I mean, Chinami, I assume she merely decided that on her own, regardless of the reality. But she really is the one to be trifled with, since if you don't be careful, you'll be dragged into that delusion next thing you know. As her older brother, that's both a point of concern and relief at the same
今
time.
夜はようちゃんとちな
Well,
で
fuck.
はでは、
今夜はようちゃんとちなみちゃんの転入お祝いで私も腕を振るっちゃったから。
ではでは、
Oh,
ではでは、お兄ちゃん牛野さんお手製ディナーまでご案内。
pulling me along by the arm, Chinami drags me to the dining room. So, Shino, before we eat, would you mind informing me of whether Chinami helped make dinner?
今日は私一人で作ったのよ。
Perfect! Tonight I'll eat to my heart's content!
なんだよそれ。お兄ちゃんのバカ。
After savoring the feast Chino has prepared and relaxing in the living room for a while, I return to my room. Placed a part-time job advertisement magazine I bought at the shopping district on my way back from the lookout onto my desk. Setting that aside to sift through later, I next take out the books relating to memory loss that I have in my book bag. The titles range from The Mysteries of Human Memory to Everything About the Brain. In other words, they aren't strictly about memory loss. But if there are at least a few small passages concerning memory loss inside these, it will be more than enough for me. I can't thank Kosama enough for finding all these books for me. Alright then. Books in hand, I sit down at my desk. I all of a sudden forgot the name of the lookout girl. According to my knowledge, something like that can only be described as memory loss or amnesia. Hence why I want to research the topic. Of course, I don't actually have to do research on how to treat memory loss in order to regain her name. It won't be enough to simply see or hear her name again. However, that simply see or hear it has proven to be more difficult than I thought. I've already asked Otishino and Chinami about the lookout girl. If you happen to know the name of the girl I used to play with at the lookout as a kid, please tell me. But while Chinami knew who she was, she didn't know her name, and Otishino didn't even know I had played with a girl like that in the first place. Now that I think about it, only my mom and Chinami ever knew about my escapades with her. I never told anyone but them. Mom wasn't alive anymore, so naturally asking her for information was out of the question. As it turns out, I'm out of options when it comes to hearing her name. Can't let myself panic, though. The second you let your emotions control you, you lose the ability to think straight. That was exactly what happened when Mare stabbed me. All I did was gaze in disbelief in response to what Mare had done to me, nothing else. Simply let everything play out as it did. Maybe I would have been able to put up some resistance if I had only tried. Maybe I wouldn't have ended up forgetting her name then. After taking one deep breath, I focus on the books in front of me. Start out by checking the table of contents, then proceed to check the topics that seem like they might touch upon memory loss. Continue reading while focusing my time on those parts. By the time I'm done glossing over all the related sections, it is already around midnight. Set my head, sort out the information I'd gained from the books. The neurological disease known as amnesic syndrome, which is a broader definition of memory loss. Symptoms point to a particular form called lacunar amnesia, apparently. Memory is generally subdivided into two large categories: declarative memory and procedural memory. Defined simply, the former can be expressed through words, while the latter cannot. Memory which cannot be expressed through words mainly consists of motor skills and memorization of how to do various things. Basically, memory that details how to use objects and move your body accordingly, like when playing an instrument or doing some sport. Memory that I've lost is one you can express through words, declarative memory. The general term for all forms of impairment with regards to declarative memory is amnesia. Amnesia is also subdivided into two forms: total amnesia and lacunar amnesia. Former is when you forget all memories within a specific time frame, while the latter is when you only forget a certain piece of your memory from a certain time frame. Accordingly, one can deduce that I am suffering from lacunar amnesia. There are many things that can result in lacunar amnesia, it seems. They range from psychological causes such as stress to physiological trauma like injuries, as well as diseases or drug usage. In my particular case, can't judge which applies. Anyhow, the most important thing is that the method of treatment for lacunar amnesia is awfully simple. The majority of cases, when it comes to lacunar amnesia, the lost memories normally come back on their own after a certain amount of time passes, which can be as little as a few days to as long as 1 or 2 months. Medical treatment in the form of hypnotherapy and electroshock therapy is an option as well, it seems, but these books seem to advise against going with these options. Even if you ignore it entirely, the brain cures memory loss on its own. The best method of treatment is supposedly to not worry all too much about what you've forgotten and not beat your head over it. It seems if you do just that, you'll be able to remember what you forgot about through some sort of trigger. What the hell? Is it supposed to mean I should just twiddle my thumbs as I idly wait for her name to come back to me? Will that really lead me to remembering her name again eventually? Isn't that just indulging in my sweet illness under the assumption that everything will work out in the end? Wait, maybe I should actually be thankful for this development. Given how my current situation is close to hitting dead ends on all my fronts, I should proactively engage in waiting if that'll lead me to remembering her name again. I just have to put effort into waiting. I almost feel like that's just my convenient interpretation, though. Anyhow, waiting comes after I've done everything in my power. These 3 books aren't the absolute authority on this, so I should keep doing research on memory loss one after a time. Other than that, I have to get final confirmation on whether or not she's an enrolled student at Hibari High. It would be great if the roster of enrolled students had photos of every student as well. But much unlike yearbooks, I have a hard time believing I'll be able to get permission to inspect the roster in the first place. The only thing I can do is just ask that tomorrow. Apart from that, I need to go around to third year's classrooms and take a look at the faces of all the girls. Since there's a possibility of overlooking some of them, I suppose I need to repeat doing that several times. When I get the time to, I should walk around the residential area and shopping district. If she lives nearby somewhere, we might happen to pass by each other. And of course, there's also the lookout. At night, I'll go see Mare. I have to meet with her again and talk to her. There are simply too many things I need to ask her. I'll do everything I can. Also, I better make sure not to forget about my search for a part-time job. I only started living here in Ibarigasaki just the other day, and I feel like things have suddenly gotten ridiculously hectic. Only giving the job advertisement magazine a short glimpse, I throw myself down on my bed. They clearly do give you a date. Again. As I'm in the middle of enjoying a quiet, peaceful morning in the kitchen, my ears are suddenly assaulted by a noisy voice and accompanying footsteps. I'm positive I made up my mind on what I'd do from here on out last night, but for all that, I'd like to actually do something about this never-ending morning ritual. I'm gonna go to school, Seiya. Come on, Chinami, get ready. It's time to leave.
ちなみ、まだ起きてきたところなんだけど。
Not my fault you can't get up on time. You're fine in your pajamas, so let's
い
get
けるわ
going.
けないよ、お兄ちゃん。髪だってボサボサのままなんだよ。
I'm not seeing the problem. Just get changed and do your hair at school.
クラスメートに変な目で見られるよ。
Huh? They don't already?
すっごい外装に答えられてる。
Come on, stuff your uniform into your school bag so we can get going.
できるわけないでしょ。
Of course you can!
なんでそんな真面目に諭されなきゃいけないの。
Okay, see you later.
ちょっと待ってよ。だいたいなんでいつもちなみに朝ごはん作らせてくれないの。ちなみに何か根性の恨みつらみでもあるの。
As I already stated, that's your fault because you keep sleeping in.
ちなみは悪くないもん。このちなみ愛用小豚目覚ましが勝手に止まったのがいけないんだもん。
You probably just subconsciously stopped it while you were sleeping.
そんなわけないよ。ほら見てよ、見て見て。ちゃんと6時半にセットしてるのに止めた形跡どころか鳴ってる形跡すら見当たらないんだよ。
I hate to inform you this, but you just confused AM and PM.
なんてこと。
Don't yell like that so early in the morning. What if you wake Auntie
大
Shino
丈
up?
夫だよ。しのさん寝つきいいし。
What if you wake up our
大
neighbors?
丈夫だよ。この時間ならみんな起きてるし。
What if you sour on my mood?
大丈夫だよ。お兄ちゃんいつも不機嫌だし。
What if you sour Mom's mood as she watches from
大
heaven?
丈夫だよ。お母さんいつも優しかったし。
What if you sour the mood of every single person living in Hibarigasaki?
大丈夫だよ。ちなみはいい子だから。
In any case, apologize to every single person on planet Earth.
何が何でもちなみを悪者にしたそう。
Bye then.
お兄ちゃんのバカ。
Waiting time limit has been exceeded, so I leave Chinami behind and depart for school. The moment I step outside, Aoi just happens to pass in front of me. Morning, Aoi. Aoi directs a quick light bow towards me and immediately turns to forward again and begins to trek up the hill. I chase after her. Aoi,
また出た。
cutting it pretty close again. You bad with mornings or something?
それほどでも。
My sister can't handle mornings at all. She just woke up minutes ago, so I suppose she's guaranteed to be late again.
そうですか。
That reminds me, I hear her, Chinami, and you are in the same
遺
class, huh?
憾です。
I'd be grateful if you could be nice to her. She may come off as a total weirdo through her words, actions, and all that stuff, but she's actually really good natured. She's actually really good natured at her core.
善処します。
She doesn't say much, but she actually does reply to me. That's a relief. After all, she is our neighbor, as well as Chinami's classmate, so I think it's safe to assume we'll keep seeing each other relatively often. When the two of us reach the school gate, it is crowded with students there for some reason. What's going on here?
まさか
Oh, he tightly embraces a book bag against her chest.
やられた。
Who and
多
what?
分これ持ち物検査です。
I direct my gaze to the front of the waiting line and spot a few students with armbands that read SC standing there. Nearby, several long tables are set up, upon which each student is placing their book bags and showing them what it is inside. Book searches set by the student council,
1
huh?
学期に1度くらいの頻度であるって以前にホームルームで聞きました。
So basically, with no forewarning, huh? I would have thought there were still schools out there that still conducted unannounced bag searches nowadays. Does he, Buddy High, actually have problems with people breaking the rules and all
知り
that?
ません。
Do they have pretty strict regulations
知
here?
りません。
You happen to be a delinquent yourself, contrary to your appearance?
死ねばいいのに。
Is it just my imagination, or did you just say something seriously awful to me? How and I get in at the end of the waiting line. All the students show what is inside their bags with clear satisfaction, but no one actually seems to have anything prohibited, so the line moves along smoothly. Thanks to that, it looks we won't have to wait much longer in this line. The line gets backed up, and I wind up marked tardy because of it. I will be legitimately pissed off. Aoi is still strongly embracing her book bag. Her face is expressionless, but she seems anxious in a way. What's wrong, Aoi?
どうもしません。
Could it be that by any chance you don't want them to see what's
見
inside
ら
your
れた
bag?
い人なんて誰もいません。
Touche. As I've just transferred here, all I have in my bag are textbooks and stationery, but I suppose students who've already settled in would likely bring along some of their personal stuff. My last school, I often used to bring magazines and stuff like that as well. Cell phones go without saying, but I even remember cases of kids bringing their handhelds to school. Does the school allow you to bring your
持っ
phones?
てきてるんですか？
Nah, I did. Since it's still in my second day here, I figured I wouldn't need it
携
anyway.
帯は大丈夫です。ただ、放課後以外は使用禁止だったと思います。
Do you have yours with you?
持ってきてますけど、教えません。
Getting what? Her number? Do you have something on you that'll get you in
なん
trouble?
でですか？
Just kinda feels like that is the
迷
case.
惑です。
Why exactly? Because she thinks I'm being nosy. Girls don't want their stuff to be seen and let others know about it as well, just for different reasons than us guys.
はい次の人、バッグを開けて机に乗せて。
Our turn has arrived. Since Aoi doesn't make a move, I go first.
問題なし。はい次の人。
Aren't you Kosume's sister? Kosuma told me her older twin sister was in the student council.
そうだけど、あなた小ヶ坂くんよね。
Yeah, we met the other
小
day.
雨のクラスメートだそうね。後で知ったんだけど。
It's been just one day and I'm already totally indebted to Kosume. She's being a great help.
あの子は人当たりがいいからね。言葉遣いも丁寧だし、皆星さんと違って礼儀をわきまえてるし。これでテンクルにさえ所属してなきゃ自慢の妹なのに。
Her shoulders are trembling in indignation. You really hate them, huh?
そうね。あなたも皆星さんから勧誘されるかもしれないけど、相手にしないことを祈ってるから。
Well, you already did, and I'm actually interested too.
それと、こんな遅刻ギリギリの時間に登校は感心しないわね。家は坂のふもとで近いんでしょ？
You know a lot
ちょ
about
っ
me.
と調べればわかるわよ。生徒会役員は生徒の個々の情報を把握する義務だってあるし。
The student council here also fills the role of a disciplinary committee.
そもそもあなた、転入試験で目立ってたからね。
Stop it, you're triggering me.
なんだかよくわからないけど。
Just cease.
でも成績が優秀でも生活態度が悪ければ生徒会には入れないわよ。今後は気をつけることね。
Whoops. Wait, no one ever said I wanted to join the student council.
我が生徒会は常に有能な人材を探しているの。頭ごなしに否定しないで一行してくれると助かるわね。
I'm feeling a bit of a similarity between this and when Atsuo and Asuka tried to recruit me.
まだひばり校に転入したばかりだし、すぐに夏休みも挟むから詳しい話は2学期になってからお願いするわ。
If I'm a me, as long as I won't be able to won't be forced to join Hisakaki.
まあよろしくということで。それ
Likewise.
じゃあ私は持ち物検査があるから。
Sorry, I held you up.
そう言ってもらえるとありがたいわね。こういう検査って生徒から目の敵にされやすいし。
Yeah, I can see
勘
that.
違いはしないでね。好きでやってるわけじゃないし、あくまで生徒会は良識を持って行動してるつもりだから。
Like, yes, sure, but all the people behind him are getting very pissed off right now. Like, yeah, sure, this is lovely that you all are having a nice moment and all that, and getting to know each other right now for the first time, but I'm hitting it off and all that. But we want to get off this fucking line! We want to get in the classrooms, bitch! It is a relief to hear that. Oh, hey, the student council member here is a sensible person, so even if you don't pass the check, I'm sure she's over, huh? Oh, he's apparently used to me talking to Hisakaki as our chance to sneak past the inspection.
ちょっとそこの生徒、まだ検査が終わってないわよ。
Did I just hear her click her tongue?
それじゃあバッグを開けて机に乗せて。
どうぞ。
それ小ヶ坂くんの宿場でしょ。あなたのを見せなさいって言ってるの。
Oh, he appears to be in a tough spot. As expected, It looks like she has brought something and prohibited along, much to her misfortune. I kind of want to see how things play out. Actually, this is a good moment to end it. I just noticed that I've been going for 3.5 hours like, already. I'm enjoying this game, surprisingly. I'm not enjoying the little sister, though. Fuck her. She needs a beating. If not for discipline's reason, then for the reason that maybe the beating will knock her brain back into the right place. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Just want to see you next time. Bye-bye.